Hey everyone, just real quick here at the top of the show, I wanted to let everybody know we're starting a new clips channel. Should be a link showing up top here somewhere. It's to try and find an audience that's looking for shorter content. So if you're here, you probably like the longer stuff. But if you could help us out with a sub, some likes, comment or two, might help the channel gain some initial traction. So if you can help us out, please do. And if you didn't know, live episodes are at twitch.tv/blazeandbob, usually Friday and Saturday nights. Take it easy. Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its communities. I am Bobby, also known as Blaze and Bob, and today we're joined by Mel, aka Melarita. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. I just found out Tyrannosaur uses default UI, and I feel like that's a very much Tyrannosaur thing to do.
There's a lot of people that do that, but I just can't do it.
Listen, back in the day, default UI sucked. So when I came back, they just didn't seem like an option.
I just always use
it is Dominus. A lot better
now. And for the first time on the show, we have Zirene, caster extraordinaire, YouTuber, streamer. He does it all. How you doing?
Yeah, done a little bit of everything. Some a little bit better than others at it, but some of my things that I do don't turn out very well. But I also use default UI, so there's that. Man. I barely mod it. Like I don't know why, but to me, if I don't have like the little griffins on the side of my bars at the bottom, it just isn't wow to me. So I just have that feel, that nostalgia.
Too?
No, I don't click my spells anymore.
Last week I trained myself not to do that.
I think I might have done that like last week with like a rank 1. I was like, I should probably like rank 1 this guy a little bit for like inspiration or like ancestral fortitude before. And I'm like, I don't have that on my bars, and open the spell book in the middle of everything.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of like
chat gets on you immediately.
When we first went to Gruul, and they're like, okay, can you enslave the demon? And I was like, I need to put that on my bars, I guess. I was like, I've never done that. I mean, I had done it, but it was like super rare.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I open my spell book because my bars look kind of like my bank, where they're just kind of like this hodgepodge of things there. And I'm like, it's somewhere on here. I know it is. And I can't find it. So I'm like, forget it. And then I have like 3 things on my bar or something.
And then you notice it later and you're like, oh, okay, there it is.
There.
I don't know why I'm like this, but I play 4 prop paladins, and for some reason, like all of my basic keys that I press are in the same spot. But I think I wing it in terms of like my consumes and like my res and all these other like side things. That I think my res is in 3 different spots. Like one of them, it's on the bottom bar. One of them, it's on the right somewhere, like halfway down. The other one, it's like near the bottom. So like my rocket boot button and my res button are on different places and different characters, even though they're the same spec. I don't know why I just don't slot that stuff over. Just
my hearth is
really
like,
lazy, I guess.
My hearth is in so many different spots, and same with my mount macro. It's all different spots.
Listen, I may or may not have put my hearth right next to my res for a while and accidentally hearthed out of whatever raid we were in a couple times.
Twice.
Yeah.
They're like, Mel, are you leaving? She's nope. Can I get a summon?
It was really bad. It was because I just like when I res, it's not like I'm staring at them like, hey, let's make sure that you're resing, right? Like I see a cast bar going and I'm like, okay, I'm doing other things. And,
no.
Yeah, it was bad.
There's like, in one of my guilds, you can put exclamation point and then the player's name, and then it links all the bad clips of them. So there's like one person where he's got green around his hands. He's like trying to res an SSC, and then he hearths. And there's 2 clips of that. He did it twice, and they were like, no way.
Yep. Him and I would get along. We've done the same thing. It's a similar animation, guys. It's it's not this crazy different animation. People are like, didn't you notice you were her themed? And it was like, no. Like
second cast, same animation.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
Something bugged out, guys. It wasn't my fault. It's like when Bob casts his soul stone on himself on accident, you know?
Dude, something is broken. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I stream it and it's there. And I'm like, clicked on them. They're in range. I cast it. All of a sudden it goes on me. Everybody makes fun. Now it's hilarious. I actually will click on them. I will find them. I will walk to them, stand right in front of them and like click it and like just like stop breathing for a second. And then it goes. And I'm like, okay.
Every time he says, we need soul stones on so and Mel. And Bob's like, I got Mel. And I'm like, no, why? Why would you say you got me? Can't you just give it to somebody else? Like, come on.
Oh, it's horrible.
No one else is allowed to soul stone.
Yeah. Oh, God.
At the top of the show here, I'd like to remind everybody that we do stream live on twitch.tv/BlazinBob. That's BlazinBob. I also want to remind everybody we have a new clips channel that we're trying to find an audience that likes, you know, shorter things, and that's a big part of the YouTube audience. So, but to get that off the ground and get it in algorithms, like we do need you guys to help us out, you know, maybe watch a clip or two, leave a comment, leave a like, just help us out with getting it started. The link will be in the show notes for that. For the show, we're going to go through a couple reviews and an email, and then an interesting question sent to me over Discord. Then just what have we been doing in WoW lately? A little bit of talk about raid progression. It'd just be like probably KJ, since we went over Muru last week, and then we'll go over the news. There's not a ton of news, but the piece of news that came out is pretty big, so we'll talk about that. And then, as we do every time we have someone new on the show, we will end the show with an interview with Zirene. So strap in. It's going to be a good time. I'll go ahead and read this first one, Mel. This review comes in from Oak Claw on the warcraftradio.com. And it's 5 stars. It says, "Hey guys, big congrats on episode 100. It was nice to have Yip back, and hopefully he'll visit often in the future. Keep up the amazing work. P.S. All jokes aside, Winky would be an amazing third host. He and Scotty are probably my favorite guests of all time. You should have your people contact his people and make this happen. Oak Claw, Westfall." So,
Tyrannosaur in the chat, could you contact Winky's people about... I'm just kidding.
So we've had a lot of requests for Tyrannosaur, Ale, Winky as a third host. Guys, it's a lot to come on the show every week. And these guys want to come on and guest, but signing up for every week is just a lot. So they plan to come on often. So you get to see them a bunch. So, but I'm sure they do appreciate you guys wanting more of them. All right, Mel, do you want to read this next one?
Yes, I noticed you gave me the long one.
I did, but I put carriage returns in to make it easier for you to read.
Thank you, sweetie. You're so thoughtful. All right. Hey, Bob, Mel, and occasionally Yip. I started listening to your podcast at almost the very start. I think I came across your podcast around episode 15. You know, right about as Steel Wolf was falling off there. Anyway, I love what you guys do. Hearing and listening to Yip on the newest 100th episode was awesome. And congrats on the 100th episode. I've left a review back in the day, not sure when exactly. I fell off from WoW right when I hit 70 in TBC, but came back when a friend of mine decided to play again. It's been a constant journey healing just Kara, Gruul, and Mag, and leveling my now 64 Orc Shaman. The change of pace I'm taking comes from you guys amping me up to play more. Bob, your voice is incredible. You're a wonderful host, and you really speak for a big portion of WoW, which is really cool. Mel, you're amazing and your laugh is so sweet and your voice is also really nice. I love listening to your takes on healing because it's how I usually feel, even though I'm not at your level. Listen, healers, we all feel the same, right? There's always that warlock you don't heal because they wife tap too frequently and you get over it. It's okay if they die.
You wait for combat to start and then you heal them for the parse.
Yeah. And yep, I wish you the best. I've commented on your YouTube and subbed, but it was nice to hear you again. The tribute to your 100th episode was amazing, and I wish you all the best. Please keep them coming. And one more thing, for the Horde. Love y'all.
For the Horde.
That's okay. We'll forgive you that you're a Horde player.
I just do that for the Horde players. I'm not Horde.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and then...
I also do for the Alliance.
Is that a gnome?
It's trying to be a gnome, but this is this is our third host that recently left. This is his for the Alliance.
For the Alliance.
Oh man,
sounded a bit like Anduin.
That's exactly what he was. It was a joke early on. We were talking about the Battle for Azeroth trailer, and he's like, "Well, the Alliance is always, it's like for the Horde always sounds way better, but then you have
right." It was like the initial talks of faction and balance, right? And it was like you see the trailer, like, who do you want to be, like for the Horde or for the Alliance?
Oh man! All right. So I had an interesting question sent to me from Harrison over Discord, and something I hadn't thought of. So I thought I would just bring it up real quick. So, okay. So hold on. Where's the actual question? Okay. So why are you unable to move characters from one BNet account to the other, like you can on retail, where you have like two accounts that are linked, right? Why can't you move characters from one account to the other? I guess this is possible on retail. I didn't know that, but like, why do you think Blizzard hasn't allowed that?
I think initially it was because they didn't want people selling accounts, right? So like
that would be my
transferring
guess. Well, why did they do it on retail then?
I don't know. Maybe because they have the WoW token. Just kidding. I have no idea.
I'm trying to remember because back in the day, it wasn't a service they offered until later. So they kind of have been keeping the services tiered, where it's like, server transfers. They haven't even done name changes yet. Right. Yep. So that's not a thing until later, even though it's very, very possible.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I found a way to do a name change already that there's like a small video on, but it's like just a bug. So I don't know why they don't offer these services. It definitely feels like an afterthought. What Mel just said about accounts and like selling it. I remember one of the things was you have to have like the same name on the account that you transfer it to back in the day when they first initially brought it in. You had to have the exact same name on there, or at least the same last name when you were transferring accounts. So I don't know why they don't just allow that, because
makes sense, right?
It would be nice. My girlfriend, she plays and she has 3 characters on one account and then 1 character on the other, and she's always just like, why did I put this one on this account? Why are 3 of them on the same one?
Yeah,
and I'm just a dumbass who has 4 accounts, so I have like 1 character on each one now, so it's nice, but every now and then, I hear a complaint about having the characters on the same account, because it's definitely really nice, and like it definitely helps Blizzard too, right? Yep. They're just going to get more money from this. Yeah,
because like I've currently like I love it because I have my rogue on one account and then my warrior on the other. So when I do any dailies, I'll just have one of them on follow, and like I'm just killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm thinking about even possibly leveling them both at the same time in Wrath, because they're going to be my 2 mains. So, yeah, but like it would be nice to move my mains to the other account.
Radar. I just don't think it's on their radar. It's just
I don't know how big the team is. I don't know how many resources they have, right? So.
There's probably other things I'd rather them do, but I feel like this would be very easy and could be just a easy, like, turn the switch on type of thing.
Yeah, you would think, but usually these things are a bit harder than we make them out to be. Yeah.
It's like me when I call IT for work, though. I rage at them, and I know that it's probably something difficult, but it's impeding what I want my stuff to do. So they're evil people, you know?
But have you restarted it yet?
Oh my God. Nothing makes me more mad when they ask me that. I'm like, can we skip to step 10? I've done everything that you're going to ask me, I promise you.
Man, I've worked in IT for 15 years. You wouldn't believe how many people lie about restarting the computer. I don't know why. Do oh, man. All right. Well, what have we been doing in WoW lately? We will let our guests go first.
Oh, wow. So I play 7 characters. I have 4 prop paladins and element. 7? I have 7 characters.
I thought it was like 5.
No, I play 4 prop paladins, a prot warrior, a double glaive rogue, and a resto shaman that swapped over from Ellie. So the 4 prop paladins on top of that. So I raid Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Actually, I raid every single day.
Wow. With now I know a lot of them are GDKPs, but do you raid with any guilds?
Yes, also? I raid with 4 guilds. I raid with Who, Rain, Aggression, and Lucid. And then I only do a GDKP Sunwell on my prot warrior. So the other 6 runs are all guild runs.
I love that you play the prot warrior because everybody talks so much smack on them, and I don't think they're that bad. Like, they're a lot of work, like a lot of different gear sets, a lot of buttons to hit, but I still think they're a badass tank right now. They're just not easy.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy when I play Prot Warrior, because like you said, it's kind of that puzzle of how much mitigation do I need versus how much threat do I need to survive this fight, but still hold aggro. And also, you know, there's the fun element. I like having crits while I'm tanking, you know, I won't deny that. So like I have like an offensive set. I have a TPS set. I have one that's like just for if I'm not going to be tanking and doing damage. Oh God, resist sets are like a big thing too. For me, the puzzle coming together is a big part of playing tank, and the gearing is really fun for me personally. But when it comes to Prot Warrior, what I say about Prot Warrior is like, you're saying they're not that bad. I'm saying they're definitely by far and away like one of the worst classes in the game right now. They're like bottom 2 in terms of output. You do twice as much as a bear to get half of what they do. So it's like I'm slamming Heroic Strike the entire time, Devastate, rotating my Shield Slam, my Revenge, etc., making sure I have Shield Block up, keeping your Demo Shout, Thunderclap up, making sure your group has Commanding Shout, whatever you need to do, and then throw in like some fancy intervenes whenever you want in terms of like positioning and shit. But God, it is really fun, but not as effective as it could be. And that's the sad part about it, right? Because I play Fury Prot.
You're putting in so much work.
Yeah,
you're like, I could just be a bear.
Does that really make them
be a bear? You just press mango.
But that's my whole point. Does that really make them bad, or just an extremely difficult class to play? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you get so much more from so much less on the others, but you can still do the job just as good, and sometimes on some bosses better, but you just have to do more. So like that's where I think it's like a very tricky thing, like, because I think they're good, I just think they're extremely difficult and very complicated to play.
Yeah, and when you have a good Prot Warrior, like you said, the fights where it's easier to have a Prot Warrior than a Feral Druid, for example, like Muru tanking the Sentinels, you can Spell Reflect, and you don't have to have that grounded every time, right? And that's actually very helpful for you. So the times that like a good player knows what they can do with the warrior, you kind of have to milk that as much as you can and be like, look at how good my class is.
Remember on Muru when I didn't need the grounding?
Yeah, remember that? That was great. My group didn't have to not have agility for like 3 seconds. It's fantastic.
Total game changer.
Hey, your enhancement shaman likes it, so you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love the Prot Warrior. It has that special place in my heart. Especially because playing Fury Prot in Nax was like one of the most fun times I had playing the game, period. Fury Prot was insanely fun, and I do miss it. I don't know if I just miss my monkey brain just misses the numbers and just being like effective dual wielding, or there's just something else there. Because I'm not necessarily pressing more buttons, right? As Fury Prot. In fact, I'm probably pressing less. Pretty much about the same, actually. I'm not even pressing like shield block or thunderclap or demo. Yeah, it's like I'm pressing less buttons, but it was just more fun because I had more numbers, maybe because threat was pretty easy too. I don't know. But yeah, I look back at a I look back at a Nax VOD not too long ago, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I do more threat on my Fury Prot in Classic with full world buffs than like the Bears do right now. I was like, oh my God, this was so broken. People could just lean into bosses and not care at all. It was fun. It was fun.
Yep.
I love how you had to justify your rogue. You know, you said every
double
class you played, and you were like, double glaive rogue. Time. Okay. Like no other character were you like explaining their gear, but it's like, I got rogue. Yeah, I know, guys, but it's a double glaive rogue. So now.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was like all throughout BT, because I got glaives very early. I got main hand glaive week 1, and then week 3, I got the other one. So I was very, very lucky in that regard. Yeah. And I saw pretty much an immediate change in like how much damage I was dealing. And I was like, wow, this makes me not shit.
I can actually compete.
We've got 2.
Like yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just saying, we've got 2 double glaive rogues, and they're just pumping now.
They are very good in Sunwell because it is a lot of single target damage, a lot of demons too. So the bonus comes in. But yeah, it definitely changes and transforms the character. It's like if Prot Warrior was given bear form just tomorrow. It was basically the changes. I was just like, wow, I went from a bottom 2 class to being actually one of the best. So yeah, Rogue, a lot of love for Rogue right now.
And all the armor pen that's in now too. Like
it's been a long time coming.
And haste is like one of your best stats, and that really didn't exist in the game until recently. So yeah,
for sure.
So I play a plethora of classes. So what about you guys? What do you play? I'm not entirely sure. I didn't stalk that much.
Well,
good luck stalking me, because I don't post anywhere. I'll give you my social media and you'll see nothing. But yeah, I play a priest, a holy priest, and I love it. Circle of Healing's strangely satisfying, even though it's one button. I don't care. I think it's the thing that makes me so mad about Kill Jaden fight, because Circle of Healing's not as effective because people are so spread out, and I'm like, come on, guys. Like, we get in the big clump to get in the dragon bubble, and it's like, whoo, so much fun.
Yep. Oh God, what was it? I was talking to somebody recently about how when it comes to the number of buttons you press, I was like, is more buttons necessarily more fun? Because like I like pressing my one button and having it do a lot of damage. And then the arcane mage is like, me too. He's like, I pressed that one button already. It's like, I love this. Like arcane mages are like, okay, it's hard. I press 2. Fine. I get it. But when Wrath comes out, it's a lot of different like buttons that you press to do small things and then procs so that you activate something again. So they really changed it and they added a lot more buttons there. And I think Blizzard going into Wrath was a lot of the, we don't want you to have a boring rotation. We want you to have dynamic rotation. Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think as a healer, I think healers typically do have somewhat dynamic rotations for the most part, right?
Yeah, I press chain heal over and over again.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but it's dynamic in the sense that you're doing it on different people, right? Like
I think Priest is probably the most diverse in terms of your spell casts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we do, right? Like Flash Heal, Prayer Mending, Circle of Healing, Renew, Shield.
Binding Heal.
Yeah, Binding Heal on if you're disc, you definitely use Binding Heal a bit on twins and
even
stuff.
As holy on fights, like you don't use it very often, but on fights where the tank takes a lot of damage, but you're also taking some damage, Binding Heal can really save you in a fight like that. Whereas before you'd either just heal yourself and save yourself and the tank would die and that would be a moot point, or you just heal the tank and you die and then, you're down a healer, right? So that has been very effective. Kim gave us that tip. One of those you forget about.
Playing Resto Shaman the last 3 weeks, I really feel a lot of agency. Like I play a lot of tanks, so I feel like I can control the raid a lot. Here now it just feels like I play God and I have Sophie's Choice all the time. I'm like, they both have dots on them. Which one do I heal? Which one gets the main chain heal here? It's like, I like that guy a little bit more. I'm sorry, that's where it's going.
Listen, we've talked about this so many times that people don't realize, like, you be nice to the healers and you might get that chosen spot over that other person, right? Like,
see, I think
when you're both standing in that blaze and you're moving out, who's getting the heal? You know,
yeah.
I might nice like overly kiss ass on the healers. They're like, Bob, he's annoying.
You give him soul stones. No.
Yeah. Maybe if you gave us your soul stones, we'd actually heal you. I'm just saying.
Yep. Mel's got some alts too. She just doesn't do much with them. She likes to level, but doesn't really
I don't have ults anymore. They're all on white main.
Yeah, true. Sad.
But I was out of town for work all week. So I got back on Thursday and raided. And then have basically just been relaxing ever since.
You play anything other than Priest?
No, I did play a druid. I tried to level a druid to do PvP with. And then I realized not only do I suck at PvP, but I also really, really suck at druid PvP, and only PvPing every so often with the druid. It was just like, nope.
Druid PvP is a high skill cap right there.
Well, I played warrior druid, and like I'm somebody who used to play warrior paladin way back in the day, and that combo, the paladin is all reactive and the warrior does like 80 to 90% of the work in that comp. The paladin is just like, I'm keeping you up, keeping you cleansed. You just keep going. You keep doing your thing. Here's freedom. No boots for you.
That's why I love that comp when I play warrior.
Then when I play warrior druid, I'm like, all right, sitting in this root, it rooted for 10.
Yep.
Okay, I hope you're good. And I just see my partner running around in a circle around a pillar with two dudes chasing him. I'm like, okay, rooted again. All right, cloned. Sitting there. Like,
it's horrible.
It's actually a skill though to be like, as soon as you have one opening where everything's on DR, you got like 5, 6, 7 seconds. What are you going to do with that? It's not with that time that you have, right? So
you got plenty of time to think about it.
My buddy was like, I think the worst comp to play against for me was Mage Priest. I hate that comp. Mage Disc Priest. I'm like, I can't touch him. I'm just going to get polyed over and over again. I can't do anything. As soon as I reach him, I do damage, but then CC comes out or something happens to me. And my buddy, who's like actually a really good druid, was like, you just got to keep sunders on at the start. And then as soon as you get out of the poly and you're full like DR'd and stuff like that, you put the sunder back up. And he's like, and also if you got like 5 sunders on them and then you get polyed, you can trinket it. There's trinket it. Force those DRs faster, right? So you get like one trinket every 2 minutes and you have to decide which poly you're going to use it on. It's a different skill than like actually pressing your buttons.
I recently tried sword spec for the first time. And I haven't tried it with a chamois yet.
The shaman?
But I realized, wow, having a stunned herald and then the other mace stun was a real big crutch for me, because like it's a lot harder to keep up with people when you're using the sword. Yeah, you do more damage, but geez, man, like that stun helps so much.
Yeah, the stun, if you're playing with like a druid or something, the stun is definitely better. For like playing with a shaman, sword spec is good. Sword spec's a weird one because like it's okay in 5s as well, but I think you have to go like sweeping strikes and really play with it like an advancement shaman or something like that. But even then, like the stun is just such high value.
It's so good.
It all gets changed in Wrath though. Like the stun doesn't exist. Maces becomes armor pen, and what is it? Sword spec is 10% chance to get a extra swing. But I think everybody goes axes because that's the best one.
Warriors get better. Like, you know, like they like are PvP awesome in Wrath. Like Overpower gets some crazy changes. Rend is actually really good. Like, yeah, it's PvP's fun for warriors in Wrath. But
yeah, one of the things about Wrath that's a little strange is like going into it. Even just yesterday, I was like, I think I was on stream and I was just looking through talents and I was like, you know, Wrath talents change a lot of the base talents we've come to know at the very beginning of trees. They've swapped a lot of things around. So like you almost kind of have to unlearn everything that you know about the class or like potential specs going into Wrath, because there's a lot of changes. A lot of things are like even just augmented slightly, and talents are a really delicate thing too.
Well, it's crazy too, because okay, so you were asking what I play. I played Rogue basically all through the original game until I quit during Cataclysm. I did play TBC, but I just PvP'd in TBC and played it pretty light. And I did play Warlock and Rogue during TBC, but then Classic came out. I was like, well, everybody says Warrior, so I'm going to give it a shot. So I played Fury Warrior all through Classic Vanilla, and then of course, I drank the Kool-Aid and switched to Warlock for TBC. Worst decision I made in TBC. I've hated it. I've learned that in PvE I don't like casting bars. I like to be right up there in the shit. I like red and yellow bars. I don't like blue bars, and so I've got a warrior and a rogue that are alts. The rogue's pretty much all PvP geared. The warrior has both PvP, and I've got like half of a PvE set made now for the warrior, and been doing alt raids with him, and he's freaking awesome. And yeah, so basically at heart I'm a warrior and a rogue. Nice. Like God, a lot of people were saying that warriors were not going to be good, and I, ever since the beginning, was like, I don't think that's going to be the case. Like, I don't know if you ever caught any of my streams or things with Snow when we were talking about it. Yeah, over a year ago at this point. Oh yeah, I've never missed an episode of Prepared Podcast. I love it. So you've heard me be like, I'm pretty sure there's no way that's possible. Like warriors, even like I was saying, like, you know, physical stacking comps may still be a thing with like warriors, because I was like, just the way the class works by nature of the way they deal damage with sweeping strikes and whirlwind. I'm like, they have good AoE damage. They can hit two things at once, which literally doubles your damage for almost every swing. Like, there's no way this class is bad. And people are like, oh, your rage generation is really bad. And I'm like, well, warriors are one of the only classes that generate resources via the damage they deal, and every stat that they get helps them generate that resource. Like for a rogue, the only thing that helps you generate energy is your offhand hit landing, which means that hit, expertise, and haste are the only three stats that even help you get more energy potentially, right? For a warrior, armor pen, AP, crit, haste, everything helps them. Everything, strength, agility, it all helps them generate more. So the more geared they get, the more they don't have to care about what buttons they press, and they just press them all. So warriors typically towards the start of an expansion will be pretty weak or decent, and then they'll just get exponentially better all the time. I don't know if you guys ever played League or anything like that. Never played League. Never. I've watched. I've watched League, but I never actually played it. Yeah, and it's like one of the reasons that like the AD carry role is so weak at the start of the game is because they need attack damage, attack speed, crit, and armor pen, right? And most other classes just I need cooldown reduction or, you know, ability haste now, and I need AP. It's like casters just need like two stats, or maybe even penetration then. And then like if you're playing a bruiser, you're like, I need HP so I don't die, and I need AD, and I need like one more stat that's like a cooldown reduction. But as like a range character, you need 4 multipliers because they all help each other in terms of like the more crit you have, the more value that attack speed has or attack damage has, right? So once you get more geared, you get better as a warrior for sure, and you get better much faster than other classes too. Definitely. And we were talking about it with Salve Dally last week. Like, I feel that a lot of us in the beginning were saying that warriors were going to be good. They were going to just have a tough time through people SSC with like the just with the mechanics. Because I mean, like pre-nerf Lady Vash, I mean, for heavy melee groups to do that, they all had to get the ogre suit, you know, and like, you know, it weave in and out. Yeah, it like, and then, you know, with the gearing and everything, it was definitely tough for them, you know, early on. Also pulling aggro because the tanks didn't have as much good aggro. Like, you know, like melee was dying a ton. So I mean, feels like there was a little bit of truth to the start of it, but like I don't think anybody like said that they're going to be the best damage dealers, you know, at the end of the expansion. You know what I mean? Like, and they kind of are.
I was saying that.
You did. You're right.
I was like, Warriors are going to be the best, like no question. And I got shit on by people, but they're just like, you can't be serious. And then they're linking me like the legacy stuff that has private server parses on them that shows like Hunter and Warlock just dominating everything. And I'm like, this is private servers. Fights are longer, so like, you know, melee unfriendly mechanics that everybody talks about.
Fights
it means
are
you
longer,
have to experience more of them. I'm like, how many times are you off of Muru, not dealing damage directly to Muru if he's got twice as much HP? I'm like, obviously twice the amount of time.
Well, then armor's higher oftentimes in private servers. Scripting is oftentimes different and wrong on private servers. Like, there's so many different things that like just don't trust. I mean, it's cool to
it's just like Sims.
It's cool to look at it, like, you know, and be getting ready, but just, to take private server talk as gospel, we've definitely found out that that's not the way to go.
Yeah, always be, oh God, what's the word here? Not critical, but be skeptical, right? Always be skeptical of private server data, and always be skeptical of Sims to some degree is my motto. Always think about the logic behind why it would work. Like, I don't care if your argument is, if I think it's like dumb or something, but if your logic behind it is sound, I'm like, okay, even if that doesn't seem to be a reality, I can understand why you think that and why you would predict that, right? It's kind of like working in League of Legends as an analyst. You're just like, I don't really think that team's going to win, but you do raise a good point, and I can see why you would believe that. I just think this is a higher chance of happening. So when it comes to stuff like that in game, I just felt like Warriors, despite all the data I was being shown, had to be good. There was no way that they were going to be bad with sweeping strikes being moved to the Fury Tree. Because if you think about it, Warriors were the top DPS all throughout Classic, and they didn't have sweeping strikes. They did not have sweeping strikes, right? That was an arms talent. It was you needed Bloodthirst, the 31st Fury talent. So you typically had 17 34, or you went 20 points into arms, but you never got sweeping strikes. I'm like, there's no way, even if your damage is way worse, you're now hitting multiple things on a 30-second cooldown. I'm like, this is just gonna rot stuff. It's gonna die so fast. And everybody's like, but Seed of Corruption. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're kind of right. But the way I thought about it was Seed is good against like 10 targets, but every pack that has like 10 things in it eventually has 4, right? It will always have 4, and it eventually gets smaller and smaller, and Seed loses effectiveness to some degree when you like start getting less and less targets. Then you start shadow bolting when it's almost dead. And I had played TBC, so I knew like most of the packs were only up to like 7 mobs, 8 mobs maybe, and then a lot of things are like 2 pulls or 3. Right, a lot of things.
Well, and for like Seed, for me, if it's 3 targets, I'm going to get more damage across the entire pack if I just single target Shadow Bolt and don't even do Seed. And then Seed, you know, is better 4 targets and higher, but until you get to like that 10 targets, it's not like crazy better. Like, it keeps getting better and better the more targets you have. Until
how much better is Shadow Bolt on 3 targets than Seed on 3 targets?
I mean, quite a bit better.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, if you're single target shadow bolting something and I'm still seeding and you get a crit, do I get some of your ISB, your improved shadow bolt?
You would, yeah.
Does it absorb seed?
Yep, you should. I'm not positive on it, but you should.
Yeah, I'm like, if that works, then maybe I keep seeding. Nah. For Warlock, I don't know how you enjoy. You even said you don't enjoy it. So it's like,
I enjoyed it in the beginning, and you know, there's certain aspects of it I enjoy, but it got worse and worse. I mean, now the spec we use, we don't even use Immolate. We just Shadow Bolt, and Curse, and it's just like, okay. And I mean, we've got so many buttons. Like, if I PvP'd on him, I'd probably enjoy it more because there's a ton of stuff to do in PvP. But
and then manage a pet.
Yeah, it's just not something I've liked. But I think I just don't like mana in general. I just don't like, and I don't like the min maxing of, like, I love positioning on melee because I just know that I have to be behind the boss and I have to get out of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas what I've learned with the caster, there's a whole lot of min maxing in how far you move for certain things. Like, there's
can't move DPS loss.
And I love to jump. I love to jump, and that's a huge DPS loss for casters. And it's not for melee. And it's just, there's so many things. Yeah,
I just got to jump, dude. There's just something about jumping in WoW that I can't stop.
I love it.
Listen, the not moving is very apparent in these fights where we have to be so many feet away from each other, right? And it's like the warlocks, they're just like, no, I'm not moving.
Yep. And as soon as the fight starts, planted.
I'm like, somebody's got to move. I can't go any direction without hitting somebody else. Like, somebody has to move.
Let me out. I have burn. Just walk through like 3 people. You just reminded me actually of like, I played retail for a little bit and went up to I just played Holy Paladin in 2s mostly until I had all of the top PvP gear, and then I was like, okay, there's nothing really left for me. It was one of the best experiences I had in an MMORPG in terms of pure gameplay, because it's up there with like Fury Prot. Like, Fury Prot is probably my favorite, and this is my second favorite. And it was being a healer that had to care about melee mechanics and had everything be instant, because in retail you're constantly using Crusader Strike to generate holy power so that you can then use your abilities faster, or like, sorry, not holy power, but like just basically get like holy shocks off, reduce the cooldown of that, constantly healing, and you're like a melee healer, and I really enjoyed that. I had never played monk or anything like that, so it was very nice. It was actually appealed to a lot of, like, I like melee and I like healing. It was very much so like right up my alley, and it was a ton of fun.
I mean, I always wanted to be like a battle mage when like WoW came out, and I just, when I didn't know anything, I remember I was a mage using a sword, trying to like hit like mobs while I'm casting like my instant cast, and it was so dumb. But I had no idea, I was level like 22 or something. Like, it was just bad. But yeah, like that does kind of sound appealing. Sounds kind of neat. Oh,
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything battle mage like. There's really isn't anything battle mage like, except for like Spellhance is the closest you get. Yeah,
Spellhance Shammy. Yeah, kind of. That's what Melderon suggested one time when he was on. But for me, what I've been doing is really boring in WoW. I've been still just getting ready for achievements and mounts. I've got all my reps in the main cities up to Exalted now.
Wow.
I just hit Revered in the Netherwing, which has been a pain in the butt compared to Skedis, whereas Skedis I could just go around and kill the small bosses, then summon the main boss, swap layers, summon the main boss again, then set a 15-minute timer, kill the mini bosses, rinse, repeat, and I got it really fast, but looking for those eggs and everything for Netherwing has been kind of a pain.
Yeah, especially if you're on a populated server, it just you're not getting any eggs anytime soon. You gotta just do routes and stuff. But
yeah, and I've been doing PvP. Still just haven't found I PvP with like 7 different people on the reg, but we never seem to have the right comps and so sitting there in the early 1500s and just not playing enough games, but I'm still enjoying it. I just have a good time PvPing, and so been doing that. That's really all I've been doing besides raiding.
You did a ZG and stuff. Oh, I guess that's technically raiding.
Yeah, I've been doing I did an off night BT with my warrior, and I did really bad. It felt bad. I had gotten more gear. I was excited, but I just was off. Although the groups were off too quite a bit. But it felt kind of bad. But yeah, just been doing that. As far as raid progress, last time we were on the show, you heard we dropped Muru for the first time. This time we came in the first try. We got him down in phase 2.
Hold on. Let's go through the whole raid. People like to hear about the raid.
Okay, what happened last time?
Okay, you go ahead then, Mo.
Okay, well, I wasn't there on Tuesday, but you guys went into Caligos. It looks like you wiped once, and then you wiped once at 90%, I think, and then got him down the second time. Anything happen in Caligos?
No, it's just one of those things where you just you damage one boss too fast. It's just I just think that boss sometimes you just don't get it down the first time is really what it boils down to. But we do have the weak aura now that shows us the boss health up and down. I just don't think...
do. You have it now.
Well, yeah. Everybody doesn't have it because some people are still not using it and asking what the bosses are. I was telling
Bob and Yip that I had an add-on or something. I was like, I can see the boss on both sides percentages, and they were like, no, you can't. And I was like, yes, I can. And they were like, that's just not a thing. And I'm like, okay. And they were like, and then Yip was like, take a screenshot and show me next time. And then the next time we did Caligos, he was like, hey, can Liz come in for Caligos? And I was like, you don't want to see my screenshot of, the boss percentage? Or are you just trying to, delay the inevitable here that I'm right? But yeah. Okay, so then you guys went to Brutalis. And
are you telling a story from the logs, or what are you looking at?
She is.
Well, okay, so I was there.
Okay.
But I was working as well. So
she was out of town, and she normally sits when she's out of town, but she'll hop in if she has to.
I was on hotel Wi-Fi, so it was like, if you really need me, I'm here. But if not, you're probably going to do better without me. So Brutalis, you guys went in, wiped once, and then killed him. Seems to be a common theme here.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first wipe.
50%.
Yeah, and it sucked too.
Where are the logs for this? Where are the logs for this?
I was I think killing it on
link the logs
first,
for this.
Yeah, you can just link it in chat if you want to. Chat can follow along.
Yeah, I'm like, I love looking at logs and then trying to figure out and CSI what happened, and just you're like, you wiped on Brutalis once. And I'm like, okay, what happened here? How did he die?
Yeah, I know. I wish I knew.
Yeah, we lost.
So how'd you die, Bob?
Well, I think they called for a wipe, and I was doing my thing, and I was having a good time because I think I was really ahead. I'd had some great crits, I think, but then you were top
DPS, so you were probably very upset.
The melee group just went down, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And then they called for a wipe, and I was like, what wipe? What? Oh, man. But the wipes are fun because then you get to run around with fire and kill, and you just go get fire and you go kill everybody. And if you're a real dick, you go find the hunters that are feigned death and you kill them too. I did it on complete accident on one of the hunters. And then I apologized to him, and he was like, no, so-and-so got me. And I was like, oh, I must have killed the other hunter. Ooh, whoops.
Epic fail.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I mean, you guys did really good, I think, on Tuesday. You guys went to Felmus and only wiped twice.
Felmus was horrible for me. The second attempt, he goes up in the air. I'm trying to get the last bit of, casting damage on him. And then for the first time ever, I find out what the green skeleton's little ooze behind him does. I had always walked around, but then I was a little late, so I came running, and I was all of a sudden trapped between the ooze. I was like, oh god, and then I died and had to watch the entire fight from the floor. It was pretty bad.
Oh my god! You guys one-shot Eldar twins though.
Yep, twins, which was crazy because at one point it got a little hairy, but. We Yip was able to get the boss back, but it started running upstairs, but I forget why. See, this is why Yip was so good at this.
A warlock?
No, somebody.
It's Kitty Claus.
Yeah, Kitty
Looks
Claus
like Kitty Claus died.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was just like basically it gave him time to get back up. It actually worked out that he aggroed on the lock and he's started running up the stairs. It was a little weird, but yeah, we got that down pretty good. Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's the first time we've one-shot twins.
I think it is too. Yeah.
I mean, we've done it.
We've
like
one-shot everything except for the first boss, Filmus. We've never
Caligos. Not Filmus.
Caligos. We've never one-shot Caligos.
It happens. So Caligos for some reason also gives a lot of my guilds trouble. I don't know if the portals are a static timer or not. So sometimes they feel like really far apart.
Yeah, I don't know
and
how
I think
it works
sometimes
either.
they just spawn at such annoying places when you're the one that's supposed to go down, right? So it takes you a while to get down there. And I think the longer people wait to get down into the portal, the longer it takes for them to come back up. And then you've got this imbalance of people on different
There's like
levels.
a second cooldown for like someone to go through the portal. So I'm sitting there clicking it, then someone will get in before me. I'm like, damn it. They keep trying to click it and get in there.
Yeah. Where it's not clickable,
Yeah. Then you guys went to Muru. If I was there, I'd do a much better job than Bob is. But
yeah, Muru was awesome. We went in and first try, we got him to 20K on stage 2. And like I said to chat right there, I was like, oh God, this means that we're not going to get him down tonight because we got him so close on the first try. And then the second try.
Historically, our guild has done things like that, right? Like you get him so close and then all of a sudden it's like wipe. And you're like, what is happening, people?
Yep. But the second attempt went okay. But the third attempt, we got him down. And I think we've got that fight down pretty good now. Everybody's like really got their roles good. It was horrible. Like at the very end, in phase 2, I died. I got B-rezzed, got a few shadow bolts off, and then there was a void zone that was half in the center circle and half in the outer part. The outer part, it was not graphically visible.
Oh, so it was like
I was like looking at the boss and I walked over. I was like, oh God, I'm in one. And then I tried to like jump out, and jumping of course the wrong thing to do because
the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, the absolute worst. And I die again. And I'm like, I just yelled, I am the weakest link. I was so mad.
Listen, whenever anybody's battle res, though, you're on like borrowed time at that point, right? You don't have all your buffs. You don't have like you're battle resed with, at least for a healer, like no mana, and it's just like if you survive, that's the thing.
The best is when someone gets battle res and they just take it immediately when like some big AoE stuff's going out or something. Like I think Yip said it a long time ago is the funniest thing. He's like, you don't have to take it immediately. You can wait for an opportune time to take the battle res. Oh man. But
now we just dummy proof that, and it's like, I'm resing you, don't take it right now. Don't take it right now. I'll tell you when to take it.
So then we move on to KJ. We get, I don't know how many attempts. Yeah. It wasn't much. We were just kind of like.
Well, I don't know if you guys did anything on the first attempt. Well, a little bit, yeah. But
yeah, we were kind of setting up like where we should spread out and stuff. But then we really got a lot of attempts in Thursday night. And
yeah.
We got it to 5% at one point, and we got to that transition to the final stage is just crazy with like everything that can go wrong. You got all these, what are the orbs called? Shield orbs. Yeah, we got all of those out. The big meteor things are dropping. Like you're trying to get the shield.
I mean, I think the Kill Jaden fight is just more people feeling comfortable and understanding the mechanics than it is a skill set barrier at this point, right? Like we know we can.
It's target priority. It's, you know, when the ads come
understanding
out,
the
you need to get
mechanics
them
and understanding
down.
your role, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think that's where we're at right now, is that, you know, in every attempt is a little bit different on whose fault it was, right? Like, there was a couple where Gunt just got kicked from the dragon, and I have no idea why that would happen, but, you know, then we don't have that, and he can't come in and bubble us, and so we die.
He was having major problems with
he uses LVI.
Yeah, and it was messing up the pet bars. He was having problems with that a lot of the night. I think they got him figured out.
Yeah. And there was just different things, you know, like we changed strats a little bit on like, hey, this is where we stand, or we're going to try to group up to get a pre-buff for everybody, and then we'll group back up to do this, but we can't do that if X, Y, or Z happens. And we were like, okay, let's just forget the fancy stuff. Like, let's just try to get it down normally, and then we can add that stuff in later once everybody understands. But other than that, like, you know, get out of the fireballs, get out of the, you know, or the meteors or whatever it is that flies down. Oh, the range is actually bigger than it seems like it's going to be, so you need to be a little bit further away. I mean,
we got better
one thing or another.
We got better at dodging spikes during the ad phase. Early on, you talk about warlocks not moving, but you can watch me early on. There's, you know, evidence. I'm just like sitting there, like just trying to move to like get to where someone's not at, and it was such a pain in the beginning, but like everybody kind of got better at it, and like by the end of Thursday night, in my little area at least, I was not seeing any problems with us being properly spread, you know, because like the hardest part is you go in to get the shield, then you got to go back to your spot, and everybody's kind of in a little bit of a different spot, but we got really good at really getting out of range of each other very quickly, which was a good sign. I think KJ goes down next week with a little bit more gear.
I noticed that it got a lot better after we like ran back, and then one of us would get fire bloom, and everybody be like, "Oh, okay, sorry, I'm too close," right? So I got Harry to move back. No, I'm just kidding. Harry was actually fine.
We had a couple of different issues in our little area, but we got it worked out. I'm hoping that the other areas got it worked out too, because I have no clue about them, you know, like as far as the spread went. I guess I could watch the logs and see, but
yeah, no, I mean, I think it was getting better on both sides. But it is a different type of healing fight too. I think you have to prioritize, you know, hots and flash heals and, you know, prayer of healing on the tank or the melee groups, but not the ranged groups necessarily. We stacked a little bit closer this time, so some of it was fine. And then mana's always an issue, I feel like, but getting the dragon breaths a little bit more consistently was helpful for everybody. So I think getting Gunt used to that has been beneficial in how he's spreading that around.
Something I did was different on Thursday is I made a macro to target the shield orbs and then cast Searing Pain. But during the first few attempts, iPod in chat was like, you know, he was sat from the raid, so he was trying to help me, and he's like, why don't you try Shadow Bolt? And Shadow Bolt, oftentimes you'll get half cast and then the orb will die, and you're just like, well, I just wasted that time. But like we thought it'd do a lot more damage. Well, he looked at it like it really wasn't. So like I switched back to using Searing Pain, and that seemed to work really good. Then one of the other warlocks, Chuckle, was having trouble with it too. I gave him the macro, and he said it worked out really good for him too. So it was just like a way to quickly target when they get in range without having to click on them or tab to them. And it's just like immediately starts casting Searing Pain, which is a really quick cast. And so I was able to do a lot of damage on the orbs later. And so the orbs aren't a problem in the beginning, but they really become a problem later. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, I think Penta gave me the suggestion to use tier 5 too for the renew. I didn't have it on me because I cleared out my bags for some reason or another the other day, but I need to try that next week too because I think that'll help a lot.
Interesting. You have any like thoughts on KJ? I assume you've killed him quite a few times now.
Yeah, I've killed him quite a few times. Like all of my raids kill it, and one of the things that I actually, it's funny. I have 26th man raid led multiple KJ kills now. So I'm like,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I've like had people stream Discord and told them exactly what to do, especially from the dragon POV, because the dragon, you can do things like if they're having issues with like pet bars and stuff like that. You just take your 1 through 4, even if you're like they're not macros or something like cast Shadow Bolt, right? You make it a macro and it's / click pet action button 1 / cast Shadow Bolt. So it will always do just normally what you're doing, but it'll try to make your pet action go as well. And then when you have a pet action, it'll do that instead. So I can just press 1 through 4 and do all of the pet abilities. If I do pet action, click / click space pet action button, all one word 1, and then you do 1, 2, 3, and then the shield is 5 for some reason instead of 4. So it's a lot easier to like blink twice, control your character, control the dragon, all that stuff. So it's KJ is a fight where there's now like new strats of like fully stacking to get damage and all that. As a warlock, you'll probably like that strat because apparently Lust and the dragon breath that speeds you up stacks for ranged but doesn't stack for melee. So melee Lust in that fight is kind of useless except for like the beginning. Whereas like lusting your warlocks plus the breath is insane for them. So
we actually we did make that change though. Yip called that change. Well, no, he called the change to lust the melee groups early. He called that change like halfway through our progression to lust the melee, like right off the bat. So that's good. But yeah, the stacking thing, we tried that a few times. Our first attempts, like last week when we first got Muru down. But then our raid leader was like, how about we just learn the fight the way it's supposed to be done first, and then we'll try this later when everybody understands the mechanics and everything. But yeah, I was definitely not getting as many haste buffs and all that. Like, it didn't feel great for the locks. Like, I wasn't doing crazy damage. Like the melee, the rogues were just like destroying every pull. Like they were just killing it. But yeah, they
can do a ton of damage on that fight, like a lot of damage. So
yeah, it looked like fun.
KJ is a tricky fight. It's a tricky fight. It's not like any other fight in the game, which means like no other fights really prepared you for it. That's why I think Muru and KJ are so difficult for people, is because they really are not like other fights. You can't like do Brutalis and that'll help you prepare for these fights. If to some degree, like doing Brutalis or doing Caligos can like prepare you for each other, where you're just like, oh, a lot of tank damage, raid damage is coming out, etc. But especially as a damage dealer, like having to swap to shield orbs all the time, having to group, move, etc. Nothing else really compares to those two fights. So I think they are very hard. Good luck with that as well. But it is fun. I have a lot of fun in Sunwell, a lot of fun, because it's just very different than all the other raids too.
Yeah, I mean, Muru and KJ just kind of remind me, like, I don't know if they're as difficult, but they remind me of some of the hard modes in Ulduar. Like Yogg Saron, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Like even just normal Yogg, like you're going in, portals, everything else. Like you're there's a lot of different stages. Like it's, but that's cool. Like, I think that's cool. It makes raiding a lot more fun for me. It gets me excited for Wrath, because this is the first time I've ever done anything in, because I just didn't raid all through TBC. So this whole expansion's been pretty new to me as far as PvE goes. And Sunwell is definitely my favorite so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very engaging, and like, it's not just because I feel like a few fights became like tank and spank, like really tank and spank. So as a tank, I just kind of was like, okay, I just need to do as much threat as possible, stand there. Gorfine's a good example, right? Even like Mother and stuff like that started feeling that way for tanking. So I'm glad there's a lot more like pally tanking on things, or even having to heal a fight or two. So it's much more engaging and has me moving around a lot.
Yeah, and for healers, it's a lot more complex, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot more damage going out.
But yeah, there's a lot more you have to think about. You have to prioritize. It's not just like, oh, who gets the heal off first? There's actually like, you have to heal people and get assignments and things like that. So it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Well, and I like these two fights more than I like, say, Lady Vash pre-nerf, because so like most of the stuff, you know, in these two fights, you can prevent, you can improve at, you know, but like Lady Vash, the wrong people get, you know, mind controlled, and there's no counterplay for that. You know, that was, you know, something I didn't like about that fight, but there is counterplay for the different things in these two fights, at least what I can see. And it feels a lot better to me than like pre-nerf Vash did, because there was just so much like, I didn't think I thought KJ was definitely a better fight pre-nerf than pre-nerf Vash. I thought, you know, as long as you did the stuff right, like you were going to be okay, and there was counterplay. But that final stage of Vash, like, you know, was just like, like, I don't know that I really liked that. But yeah, well, so that was our raid. I think we're going to get KJ down. And yeah, let's move on to...
Time for the news.
All right, so the big news this week is Classic Wrath Fresh Realms. This has come out. There's a lot of different news about it, but basically the first thing that came out is they are planning to do Fresh Realms for Wrath. And they said for at least 90 days, they're not going to allow character boosts or transfers to the realms. And they've since come in and said, listen, guys, it could be like forever that we don't allow transfers. We're gonna watch it. So just initially, what are your guys' thoughts on Fresh Realms?
I like them personally. I think that the idea behind it is good. I think that giving people a chance, because in my opinion, it only helps and it doesn't really hurt, because these people who are rolling onto Fresh Realms are people who really want that experience of leveling fresh, right? And if you did that on a server and they didn't allow any fresh servers at all, you would not have people to party with. You would kind of be forced into the boost every time. So I kind of like how they made it so you can have to go through the game. You have to go through the game again, or, you know, opt into that experience. But from my perspective, I guess I haven't put it so eloquently, they only gain from doing this, and it's very low effort, and it appeases a group of people who, in my opinion, will probably like that experience, like that leveling experience, and then some of them will stop playing the game because they liked the leveling portion of it, and then the other ones will transfer. So I feel like it's not anything that you like lose here, because if I'm somebody who wants to have that fresh experience, I don't want to feel like I'm behind, or be forced to have like roll on a server where I'm going to feel behind. So this just gives people an option, and I feel like having options doesn't really hurt that much, you know?
And I feel like it could be really good for people that like didn't invest a lot of time in TBC. Like I've got like over 30K gold, and I've got a whole bunch of like plans, and there's a lot of in-game stuff like Kirator rings and cold weather flying and all this stuff I'm going to buy right off the bat. And like, so I'm, you know, and I've got like 6 characters. Like I'm going to, you know, like I'm not the target for this, but someone who quit maybe TBC like during phase 1, I mean, this could be a really cool option, you know, and it is scary, as soon as you can transfer characters over, boom, the economy is no longer what they're quote unquote wanting, but there's going to be bots on that realm, and the economy is going to, you know, it's going to end up being bad too. So
they're only going to allow character transfers if the population starts to go down, right? Like if people level and it starts to dwindle, or if there's not enough interest, I think that's when they start allowing character transfers. That's why they made it so clear that it may not happen, but it could happen after 90 days if it's not as big as we thought it might be, right?
No.
I think there'd be another interesting idea, though, is allowing Wrath fresh servers that do allow character boosts. And I only say this because I think that there is a decent amount of the population that wants to come back and play Wrath and doesn't necessarily want to come back and play Wrath and compete with everybody that has all this gold saved up and all of these things, but they don't want to come back and play Wrath and level from 1 to
they don't.
80.
They're here to play Wrath. They ain't here to play Classic
Exactly.
or TBC.
Right? Like if they were there, like we're that population that played Classic and TBC, right? They don't want to go through playing Classic, TBC necessarily. Like I think there's a population that does that as well, right? And so I think it'd be interesting if they had, I don't know, at least one server that did allow character boosts but didn't allow character transfers, and see if that was popular as well.
I think they're experimenting, and I think it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
One concern I do have is, and Scotty J, one of his videos made me think of this, is if they want the servers to be actually correct, these fresh start realms need to come out when Wrath drops, not pre-patch. Because if it comes out in pre-patch, I'm going to play some, and then I'm not going to play later. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to, that are like, oh, I'm going to have a fun time in the fresh start and play, you know, as far as I get. But then, you know, when Wrath hits, like, I'm going back to my mains. And this could really affect the server populations. Like, they might end up opening new servers.
Why would you go level in a Classic Wrath server from 1 to 30 during pre-patch? Like, what's the enticement there?
Just to level in a, I mean, it's the fresh thing, just to level in an Azeroth that's booming and has a ton of people doing dungeons, ton of people doing everything. Like, that sounds fun, but when you
start at level 1, you realize this, right? Like, I don't think pre-patch is long enough to make that as enticing as you think it might be.
It's supposed to be. Everybody is thinking it's going to be four weeks based on what they've said.
You're saying they release it when Wrath drops, not pre-patch.
Yes, and I think.
And what are you saying, Mel?
I'm saying I don't think there's enough enticement for me to go play in a Wrath fresh server in pre-patch.
That's you, but I think there's a ton of people that do.
So you're both saying they shouldn't do it at pre-patch.
No, I don't care if they do it at pre-patch. I think it's fine to do it at pre-patch. I think these people that want to play Wrath, they want to play Wrath, especially on a fresh server. I think they want to play Wrath as soon as possible. You launch it at pre-patch and they get that opportunity to start their fresh server. Sure, there might be some extra people going in there. I don't see the like deficit. Like, I don't see the consequence of that being negative. I see that being a benefit, right? Like, you get people to come into this fresh server and okay, yes, maybe then they leave, but then after 90 days, people can transfer, right? So, like, I don't know.
That's the whole thing. People, like, these people that want fresh do not want people to be able to transfer.
Well, they will, though, if they get a fresh server and there's,
they don't want people to transfer into them. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want gold coming in. I don't think that's going to happen. It would have to be like way too populated or something, or like, I don't know.
I just wonder, because there's been so many people that are saying, well, I'll play it some during pre-patch, but then not after that. And if that happens, they might open up new servers. Then there's a whole bunch of people playing, and then it drops off completely. And then those servers are kind of in trouble at that point. Whereas if you just drop it day one Wrath, you're only getting the people that really want to play that server for good. That's how I see it.
Okay. I see that. The way I kind of understand that as well, because I was thinking originally, I was like, well, I would want to have something where it's like, hey, pre-patch hits, these are the fresh servers, you can roll on them, get your character to max level, and then you have a challenge of like, how much can you prepare yourself for Wrath of the Lich King before it actually comes out. But I think that isn't as enticing to people who want to play Wrath and will buy Wrath when it comes out, right? They'll buy the subscription then. They're not going to be like, oh, it's TBC final phase pre-patch into Wrath of the Lich King. Now it's time for me to play. but you don't have the same ability, or you have the same abilities and stuff like that, but you won't have like the access to Northrend or any of those things. So you're just like kind of sitting there waiting. And I think a lot of people are going to use the boost if they're just playing for Wrath. If you haven't started preparing, a lot of people are probably just going to use the boost, or you like the leveling, which I'm like, you could then start at any time, you know, like, but so I think
fresh, you can't use the boost.
Yeah.
Though, so
I know. That's why I'm like, they're just going to roll on other servers if they're like new people who aren't doing it.
That could be true too. It could be true.
Yeah. But if it's in pre-patch, then I think the people who are coming for Wrath are probably going to also feel like they're behind. So I think you're right, where the best thing to do is drop it when Wrath happens. Right.
I just feel you get everybody that really wants that fresh experience. And it'd be cool for content too, because you'd be able to watch some crazy races.
Load into Elwyn Forest and just be like, whoa, everybody's here again. We're all here.
Well, yeah. And just day one, I would probably be watching, like, you know, you're going to get to see everybody clear Nax, you know, world first. But then, you know, as soon as that, you know, few days is over, right? On all the other servers, you'd get to watch this crazy race of everybody going from level 1 all the way through TBC, all the way into Wrath, level 80. And then who's going to clear Nax first in those new fresh servers? I think it could be some really neat stuff to watch. And maybe even more hype than all the other servers world first.
Well, I mean, it probably will be, because if you think about it, they said that they're gating raids, right? At the start of Wrath. So it's not going to be like TBC, who can get into Gruul at level 68, etc., right? Who has 25 people to go. They're releasing them later. Like, I think it's a week or two later.
Oh, really? I didn't see that bit of news. That would be, that would make you feel a lot more relaxed about like rushing to max character.
Let me see. See if we can find something that talks about it eventually, I guess. But if somebody in chat knows as well. Yeah, somebody says, Mega Man says, I thought it was 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm trying to find where I saw this.
That would be interesting. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Release.
Yeah, but I think in that case, then if it was 2 weeks, like if there's any really good guilds like that are starting on fresh, even if fresh drops, I think in 2 weeks there'd at least be a few guilds that are ready to go right into Nax on the fresh servers too. Like they would definitely be able to level that quickly. Especially because like also you level quicker. They do the same thing again, like TBC leveling becomes faster. You also get mounts earlier. There's a lot of different things that make the 1 to 80 journey a lot quicker.
Content-based schedule for Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah, I found it. Pre-patch event 2 to 6 weeks long. Release raids unlock about a week after release.
Okay, a week.
Next, Rammus, Eye of Eternity, Obsidian Sanctum, and then Old Noir.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll take that.
You can get a link to that real quick?
Yeah.
Link it in Discord and chat, would you? So I have it for the notes. Nice.
Yeah. This is what it was. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, where did I see this?
Yeah. It's one of those things, and then you start questioning yourself. You're like, did I actually see this, or did somebody just suggest this?
Oh God, yeah. How did I miss this for news?
Yep. Yeah. Raids unlock about a week after release. So it's a lot of people who were like, because I play in a lot of speedrun guilds. A lot of people were kind of upset because they're just like the whole thing that like Progress did, where they were like practicing leveling as soon as they could, like within like hours of the release, they were already down in Gruul, right? They were getting those world firsts in. It's not going to be the same way. Now people are going to be gearing up. You're going to be waiting there. People are going to be like, whose server comes up first, who has the least lag, that's going to be world first, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing that people are upset about, is they're just like, whose ever servers are the most stable and they can be ready for the raid and know the raid well enough, those people are going to clear it. So
yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of feel like having it a week is better, just because just think about the what was it, 8 hours at release of TBC that Faralina just wasn't playable on.
Yeah, it was not. It was not.
Yeah, so
oh god,
that sucks for world first type races. That just puts a bad taste in people's mouths. If just something out of their control screws them that bad.
Yeah, especially I think this is where they're appealing to a little bit more of the casual player, where they're like, hey, it's not this big rush. You don't need to, if your guild is trying to go hard, because a lot of guilds are very ambitious, right? Because I think ambitious guilds get a lot more recruits. You kind of have to just make the culture,
right.
You set the tone of the culture, right? And then you recruit people who fit that tone or want that. And then that becomes your guild's image. So there's a lot of people who are pushing the boundaries and hey, we're going to raid that first weekend, right? People are going to burn themselves out. People are going to be playing. People are going to be upset that they have something come up and they can't actually raid then.
Right.
So yeah, I think
it's a lot of pressure. I think TBC was a lot.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I was killing myself.
God, I need
They took years off my life.
Yeah,
that's the most I had streamed ever. I go back and I check my analytics, and that was by far the most I had streamed in a month. It was just constantly streaming my leveling, and I had to level a character that was a tank that weekend, and try to get my rogue ready to do a lockout before Tuesday, because it resets and you miss a lockout if you don't, right? So,
well,
God, it was so bad.
Even in our sweaty casual guild, just to give, just, we didn't actually tell you, our guild's we're not casual, but we're not hardcore, but we're a guild that did, kill pre-nerf Vash and KT within the first, what was it, 4 to 5 weeks. We're that type of guild. But we were moving over, and Mel and I were just freaking out trying to level, because we went from 40 man to 25 man, and we're trying to make sure that we're leveled when everybody goes in for the first attempts, and we're just killing ourselves doing it, and I think there's a lot of people that were doing that. I think it'll be a little bit better this time around. But also on the fresh realms, the gates of Encourage will be open. There'll be no Scarab Lords on those servers. Something interesting that was in this post too that I didn't know is, I guess if you still want Scarab Lord and you never did that, I guess there's still some realms in Season of Mastery that the gong can be rung but has not been rung. So if anybody's interested in that, you could probably find those servers.
Transfer, wait a long time, dead character, transfer back. Oh no, man.
Yeah, I don't know how much you would really want to do that, but if somebody wants to knock that off their bucket list, I guess you still can at the moment. And then what was the other one? It was the Gates of Encourage, and then something else was opened. Yeah, I thought there was something else. Maybe not, though. I thought there was something else that you wouldn't be able to do that was done in. Yep, I don't know. That was done in Classic, something.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I got nothing either. But yeah, so fresh servers. It's going to be interesting. Are you going to roll on one? Is that is that right? No.
No, I'm going to try to cut back the number of characters I'm playing, because it literally.
Are you doing 10?
No, it literally leaves me no time, and I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. So there's a lot of time just. When I have free time, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then you commit yourself to raids. And then eventually you find yourself doing that with all of your spare time. I'm like, well, probably trying to get another hobby, trying to do something else. So
yeah, there's so many good shows and stuff out right now. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm sure you're way behind.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm way behind on stuff. My girlfriend and I like watch shows, and like for some reason now it's like TV is the thing I do to get away from gaming, which is a little strange to think that way, because
it's different. Man. You can watch the screen with just your hands down, right?
Yeah,
Instead of engaged in something. So yeah, it's totally different.
Oh, absolutely, completely different. It's just, it's one of those things where I definitely would want to pick up another hobby or start working out again. So I want to cut back on my characters 100%.
Working out would be nice. I keep trying to restart that. It's crazy. I looked at a picture of me from before Classic came out.
Wow. Yeah.
And we're on the beach. And I had like a 4 6-pack. And now I look in the mirror and I'm like, that's gone. I wonder what happened. Classic.
6-pack's there, man. There's just a keg in front of it, you know?
Yep.
It's there. It's just hidden. Okay. It's stealthy. Like, it's there. Don't worry about it. Yeah. No, I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like I, luckily enough, travel enough for work that I still get to not computer game all the time. But now, even when I travel for work, I log in just in case they need me, because that's fine. But we'll get there. I think we're going to go to TwitchCon. Get out of our bubble. COVID also didn't help, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, well, our best vacation of the year used to be BlizzCon for years, you know, and now we haven't had it in so long. We're just like, do you want to go to TwitchCon? We should see a lot of the same people that we see at BlizzCon. You want to just do that? You know, we had so much fun doing it. And then we used to also travel for the Overwatch League stuff, and we don't do that as much anymore. So gotta get out of the house. But okay, so the last thing I wanted to mention is the free. They're like we mentioned it last week. They're closing a bunch of servers that are low pop. If you're on the list, you need to transfer before August 9th, because this is when it locks. Now, a lot of people are speculating that this means that the pre-patch will come 2 weeks after that. Anybody think that might be right? August for a pre-patch?
August sounds fine. I feel like...
But that would mean September launch.
You think that's too early?
I was more thinking October or November. I was thinking something in
November
fourth quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I think August gives us, like, mid-August, that's 2 more months of this content, right? Like, how much longer is SS or is...
That's a good point, I guess, yeah.
Like, it's all still fresh and new to us right now, so I feel like we're all in this bubble of like, oh, but this is so fun. But I think they have to...
You just have to judge how many weeks it is versus like the previous phases. Like they go like usually 18, right? It's somewhere between 15 and 18 lockouts.
Yeah, somewhere between 3 and 3.5 months.
I don't think they want to lose the Wrath hype either. I think there's
100%.
a lot of people that are not as hyped about this phase because it's not going to necessarily help them get better in Wrath, right? And so they have to balance that between the people that still want to play this phase and moving forward. But let's be realistic. All the gear you're getting right now is great for right now. and 10 levels, it's not going to help you much.
Yeah, the jump is definitely huge, TBC to Wrath. Whereas when you were getting that Nax gear, you're like, well, I'm probably going to be able to use this throughout Kara, you know, like this is going to carry me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There's some items, like specifically for Rogue, I need to get 2 pieces, preferably bracers, and I think boots. Or
bracers and belt or
bracers
something.
And belt, yes. But like, I'll take any 2 of those 3, really, just to have like that haste bonus is big. And then I think there's a couple other classes that have that type of thing. But for the most part, you know, especially weapons are all replaced. Like, it's a bummer about the glaives because like those get replaced so fast. Like, someone was mentioning to me that like they should have from the beginning made an upgrade path for each legendary, you know, so that like you could keep carrying it on, you know, from expansion to expansion. I thought that was an interesting thought.
You just keep Thunder Fury.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a big old thing you had to do, right? But like, you could continue to like, or it just turns into a new, you know, it turns into Thunder Honer. I don't know.
I feel like you're reducing the, like, I don't know. In my opinion, if you have something that upgrades, new people coming in are at a disadvantage at that point.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, new people coming into Wrath don't want to go back and try to get glaives so that they can upgrade them in Wrath, right?
Yeah, that is.
I think you have to think about that. Yes,
you could just cut it off though. But then, then people would have it. There'd be no chance to get it. But
exactly.
that would be kind of cool too, though. I mean,
that'd be kind of cool. Oh man, feeling like I have no chance to be the top parser if I don't have a badge of the Swarm Guard. No, you know,
I guess that is true. Like, I was kind of thinking about like the Tony the Tiger mount from ZG.
Like, cosmetic things are fine for the most part. But something that's like performance wise, especially in the parse world, that can't happen.
Yeah, you're right.
You had a good idea. You threw it out there. There's a good version of that somewhere, all right? There's a version of that that's not bad. Like,
hey man, you know, like I throw a lot of stuff out. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. And I was definitely mind changed fast there.
Yeah, and the other thing on top of that was where you were like, hey, it could be like an upgrade path. I was like, God, as a designer, I would be like, I want to make a new tank weapon. And then the other designer's like, Thunder Fury exists, dude. And I'm like, it has to be better than Thunder Fury now if I make a new weapon that I want to be like legendary for tanks, or is this their weapon throughout all of the game, no matter how many expansions, right? And that's how power creep happens, is like every tank is using Thunder Fury and there's nothing better. They've been using it since Classic. Once you get to Wrath of the Lich King, somebody eventually goes, well, I want something better than that, right? I want them to have to like do a new thing. It's like, well, you got to make something better than Thunder Fury, and power creep continues. So
it kind of
no, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It just feels so sad for people that get these glaives late, you know, they're like, oh no, I only have 2 weeks left. You know, I don't know. But I guess, you know, I'm never going to get glaives, so it doesn't really matter for me.
Hey, you already accepted it. It's all right. Not everybody gets glaives. You'll use paper cutters, BOE blues when you hit 17. You'll be laughing at all the people who had glaives.
Yep, but I'll never be able to be, you know, harassed for losing, you know, in arena, you know, and nobody will ever be able to say, imagine losing as a glaive rogue.
That is true. There is major glaive envy. I found that out immediately.
I know you talked about it. I'm prepared.
If you join a new team, like I had a new team and I like played like 6 games or something, and then somebody like whispers me, oh, we had 1,200 with glaives. I'm like, bro, we literally just made the team and we're playing. Like, what is going on? And then like Twitch chat is the worst offenders of this, because if you're on a boss and you're dealing damage, they're like, imagine not being top DPS and you're sitting there on Muru, not able to melee. It's like, imagine having glaives and not being top DPS. I'm like, okay, man, I get it. Like, we get it. You play Hunter. We get it. Okay.
Oh man, it's good stuff though.
Chat is sometimes very fun, but sometimes very much so trolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got people that are coming to mind. They're like, they love to, like, they'll never say anything when I'm top DPS on a fight.
Oh yeah, they don't say shit when you're top. They don't say anything. They just lurk. And they're just like, what did he do wrong there? What did he do wrong? What can I poke at? Like,
and we've got this other lock in the guild who's definitely better than me, and like, but every time he tops, they'll be like, man, he's such a good lock. That guy's such a good lock. And I'm like, yes, he is. Fucker, I know he's a good lock. Leave me alone.
It's always like that. It's always like that.
It's fine.
No, well, chat helps me a lot though. I've a much smaller chat though. You know, like usually during raid, I'm
sometimes
sitting
a very good thing. Sometimes a very good thing.
Like 15 to 20 people during raid, and oftentimes they're like helping out. They're like, "Hey, did you know this? Did you know this? Hey, you know, like so." I've got a pretty healthy chat, but I've got a few of my like resident trolls that just love to mess with me.
Of course.
Oh man! All right, well,
one of them's Mel on a different ID. Yeah. And what the fuck, Bob? Why would you do that?
Oh man. Well, yeah, I just wanted to keep reminding everybody, if you haven't played for a while, I know a lot of people listen to this pod to kind of keep connected while they're waiting for Wrath or whatever, but just make sure you log into your server and just check and make sure that you're not going to get closed down, because if you don't transfer by August 9th, your characters are locked for 2 weeks and you can't play at all. And if that is when pre-patch hits, that would be scary. Most likely it would be 2 weeks after. So you would be fine to still play pre-patch, but just in case, But
you don't get to choose where you transfer if you don't do it initially, right?
Yeah, they just follow you somewhere, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, if you do it initially by yourself, then yeah, you choose.
Yeah, you have you have
choices.
Get
forced off, then no.
They just put you somewhere.
Yeah, they dump you somewhere.
And hopefully it's not an alliance going to Whitemane or a horde going to Benediction.
I would assume they would
Come on, they gotta have some fun with it. There's somebody in there being like, you didn't do it. You're going to Whitemane. You're going to Benediction.
Well, now I wonder, I do think that if you get forced off, that they shouldn't make that count as your like server transfer and that you could pay to like go to a different one. Fair. I would hope.
Oh, the cooldown. Yeah.
I hope it doesn't trigger the cooldown. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the decent thing to do.
Yeah, especially because they just made that really great move of they're going to take away the restriction of going from PvE to PvP server, right? So all my friends who are trapped on the PvE servers can now come over, finally.
Well, to the PvP PvE servers, right? Because pretty much all the PvP servers are basically PvE at this point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, unless you're on Firebar or Grob. Servers. Like Grobulus would be glorious to be on right now. I am here. There's huge daily battles at the Isle of Quel Danas. Like people get done with raid and they go and raid the whole island, and like that sounds so freaking fun. Like I'm just.
What server are you on, Zirene?
I play on Fairlina, Horde, and Benediction Alliance, so I'm as normie as you can get with my server selection.
I mean, doesn't everybody play on Fairlina's Horde and Benediction as Alliance?
Rain on Whitemane in Classic?
No, they were on Scarum, and then when Scarum got Horde dominated, they moved off and they went to Fairlina.
Because I thought we had a really good guild named Rain on our server, but maybe it was a different rain. Yeah, okay, well, that is that. We're going to move into...
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right. You like that?
Who did that? Who did that voice?
It was a guy named Bradshaw that was in our guild. He used to do it all the time during raid. And I was just like, dude, can you do a bumper for me? And then we had like this whole horrible conversation about the WoW token and got ripped on Reddit about it early on in the podcast. And so Yip, our other third host, came up with the like, hey, like let's have him talk about the WoW token. So yeah, he did that for us, and we've been using it ever since. Love it. All right, so this is where we get to know Zirene. All right, man. So first off, I don't even think we mentioned this at the top of the show, but you've had an interesting career so far. From 2014 to 2019, you were an analyst and a color caster for Riot in League of Legends.
Yep.
Like, how did you get into that? Because everybody asks like how to get into those types of jobs. I'm sure it's even harder now, but like, how did you get into it?
The way I got into it is I was a really driven college student, and I was good at video games. Like I had originally played regular World of Warcraft in Vicious Cycle, and then I meant to play TBC. Then I was like, I'm playing too much video games, I gotta quit. And my little brother came up to me and he was like, oh, you should play this game, it's called League of Legends. And I was like, any game called LoL has to be bad, and here I am playing WoW. So I then went to college and then got my AA and transferred to UC. And at the UC, I was like, I'm a transfer student, I don't have a lot of friends, but I'm good at League of Legends. So I joined the League of Legends club that had popped up. UCI. I went to Irvine.
Okay, so you were in California, which probably helps.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, okay. Absolutely. So I went to UCI and they had a League of Legends club, and at the club they had a tournament sign up, and this was around the time where Worlds was just happening. I think it was season 2 Worlds, maybe. I think it was season 2 or season 3 Worlds. They had casters, and I was like, oh, casting seems like a really interesting thing. And so I played in the League of Legends tournament, and I won the first season of it. And then the second season of it, I was like, I'm playing too much, I'm just gonna back off, I'm gonna stop.
Why did we do that back in the day? I did the same things.
I was like, I'm just gonna focus on my studies, And then I tuned into like one of the UCI like Twitch channels where they were like streaming the tournament a little bit, and my mid laner from the previous tournament was casting. And I was like, oh, and he seemed to be struggling a bit. And I was like, here, let me help. Let me like try out. Right. And so I just went in there and just winged it, just talked about what I knew, champion interactions, etc. And the president of the club was like, hey, we want you to cast every game. And I was like, that was a lot of fun. And like a lot of people were like praising me for it. So yeah, I'll give it a try. And so I spent way more time casting the tournament than if I had played in it. So when I wanted to like spend more time on studies, it didn't exactly work out the way I thought it was going to work out. So it's like one of those things where I would have had to only play like once a week if I was in the tournament. Now I'm casting like every single game. And so that gave me a lot of reps, and I felt like it was really fun, and there was a lot of positive feedback on it. And so I went from there, and that's where the ladder like really started for me, where I was just casting games randomly at my college. Then I joined this thing that was called like the College of Casting, where it was you can cast other colleges' games, and they need casters for their clubs. So I started doing that. I became like the West Coast admin. I then had people like recommend me to other people for like Ivy LOL, which was just like a League of Legends collegiate tournament. And then Collegiate Star League, which I think did StarCraft originally, was doing League of Legends stuff, and they reached out to me. And so I started just doing more and more. And they had an opening for a caster, for a color commentator in the LCS. And I was sitting there, I kind of wrote myself off. I was like, no, I'm not going to apply to it. Go ahead.
Just for anybody who doesn't know what a color caster is, a color. Oh, yeah. I mean, here, I'll let you explain it.
Okay. So in a typical caster duo, there is a play-by-play and there is a color commentator, which is the more analytical one. And the play-by-play is the one who's talking about what. They're the what is happening. And the color commentator is the how and the why. This is how I actually teach these concepts. And for the play-by-play, they're saying things that are more or less obvious, but they are painting the picture. They're the what's happening. They're the guys at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the touchdown for this guy, right?
Yeah, and then the guys that can talk fast too. You know?
They're the ones who have to enunciate. They're the ones who have to have really, like, mostly, I would say, like, more appealing voices. Not always, but, you know, a lot of the times it helps out. It helps out. So you have to be able to paint pictures with your words. And when it comes to the analytical commentator, you have to have the expertise. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in the game to do the play-by-play. But for color commentating, you do need some sort of like rapport or credibility, I guess is the word I'll use. Credibility from the audience, whether you're a former player or you're a high-level player or you've just been doing analytical commentary for a long time. So after the person says, like he's at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10 touchdown, that's where the other guy comes in and goes, that was a great drive there. What he saw was this around the side. That's the analytical commentator talking about what happened to make it exactly go down the way it did. And the way, like the reason he saw that play was because of this. They're the ones who usually handle replays a lot of the time. And
I love how you brought it back to football, because if you didn't do that, I was going to exactly point out football as an example at the end. Sorry, but that's awesome.
No, we take a lot of keys, like kind of cues from football, from basketball, from sports commentary in general, because it was kind of a new craft in the last 20, 30 years for esports. So it's still very, very new. And people are trying to figure out how to do it their way. So a lot of times we just take from what works. So,
right.
But yeah, so like I said, normally I'm the one who has to know interactions, why this happened. When a team fight goes down, I'm like trying to direct people's eyes towards what to look at in the replay. So somebody might be highlighting a key player during the fight as the play-by-play, and then I'm like, and that guy had this set up by number 26. When we get that replay up, just watch this guy here, right? You might have been looking somewhere else the entire time, but I want to show you what made this happen. You have to pick like one thing a lot of the times. I could go on for hours about commentary, because I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I did a lot of free coaching for a lot of different commentators. I think I eventually had like 29 students overall, and many of them became professional commentators. Captain Flowers, I worked with Fish, I worked with Froskurin, Pyrotechnics. There's Medic, Vedius. I actually pulled, if people know from like League of Legends, I pulled Vedius from another game. He was casting Vainglory, and I was like, well, the concepts of being a commentator are the same across genre, right? There's just some subtle differences. Like if you're doing CSGO, there's a lot of tension because it's a round-based game. If somebody's left alone against 4 people, you don't have that same thing in League of Legends, where it's a 5v5 game. You don't have this thing where you're trying to build tension as a play-by-play, going like, one guy left, what's he going to do? Rounds the corner, not there. He's planting, right? And then you just like build up until bam, there's the moment, right? So you can do a lot of different things in different video games, and you really have to play to your genre, but the concepts are kind of overarching. So yeah, that's what a color commentator is you are the smart guy on the cast. You're the one who helps out with the other dude in terms of adding knowledge. You kind of set the stage for what can happen or should happen, and then expectations can be met or subverted. So
how hard is it to change partners?
It's not that difficult, especially because of the way that Riot did things. Riot very much so as a company was against caster duos. Which was something that I always kind of like was like, I don't know. I love duos. Tasteless Artosis, Monty and Doa. I was like, duos are sick, right? I was like, duos are fucking sick. Like, this is great. And you get to have rapport with somebody, and you get to have like way more conversations, inside jokes, kind of something that like the audience could be like, oh, I love it when they do this. Cause like when I started my career, I was casting mostly with Freak. So it was Freak and Zirene on the Challenger series. And that was something that people were like, oh, I love that duo. I love it when they, go off on tangents or do this or that. And Riot, obviously, as a company, would be against duos because of combined bargaining power for the most part, right? Like that, that's a bad thing for companies first and foremost.
Oh, that makes sense.
They also want you to be a more rounded caster for when they do international events. They like to mix people up. I'm casting with somebody from EU I've never cast with before, right? And it's supposed to be an international game that feels good. Or like it's a game where it's NA versus EU, and we have one of each caster on the cast because they're going to do tri-casts and stuff. They're trying to make it so you are more flexible as a caster. So I've been prepared for that for the most part. And when you know your own style and your hand signals, and you kind of have a meeting beforehand, you can pretty much talk to each other about what to expect. Like, hey, I don't do a lot of the driving on the cast. I do a lot of just adding, right? Or I'm somebody who likes to just set the pace of the cast or where we're going, right? So people will figure out their own style. It sounds like you were kind of
set up for that. I feel like if you had started in just a single duo and were like, that's how you became good at your craft, I feel like it'd be a lot harder.
Yes, you'll absolutely learn. You'll learn bad habits that you will continue to have and will define your style when you transfer to like other partners and stuff too. So I think it's like both a good and bad thing that, Riot liked or didn't like duos, but yeah, it's not that difficult to change partners there. And it's actually, you can learn a lot from everybody you cast with, because people cast very, very differently. No two casts are ever the same. So, but to finish what I was saying about my journey, it was like there was an application. I kind of like wrote myself off, right? I just said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to like sign up for it. And eventually I just went, you know what? I have everything to gain and nothing to lose from this, right? Like all I have to do is just send it in. And if they say yes, then I become a commentator. If they say no, I'm exactly where I am right now when I haven't applied. So you can't win unless you play. So I was like, why not? What's going to happen? I send in a resume and I get embarrassed by it. Like that's not something that I would have felt. So rejection wasn't like a big thing when I had like finally got the courage to apply. And then I think I got offered like my first paid gig a few weeks before that, which was like it was the promotion qualifiers for it was Gamescom. I think Gamescom and
nice.
There was and PAX. PAX was the other one. So I was casting pretty much around the clock because I was doing an EU tournament and an NA tournament on the weekend. So it was literally like cast in the morning, then take like a 4-hour nap in the afternoon, then cast at like 3 p.m. All the way until night, and then wake up again in the morning and then cast until it was like 1 and EU was done, and then 3 p.m.
So you were doing all these castings remotely, right?
Yes. Yeah. There was no in-person. I didn't do an in-person cast until I was at Riot. Okay. Well, actually, that's not true. I think one of my first UCI casts was an in-person one, but basically knew nothing about casting, and they just wanted us in like the studio for the most part. Okay. But yeah, so that's how it went down. And probably the biggest thing is I left UCI in my last quarter. We're at a 4.0 in cognitive psychology, and I definitely wanted to take like the path towards PhD, but I decided to leave to go become a commentator after they had said yes. Actually, I'll back it up a little bit. I had left the school a year before I became a commentator because I wanted to focus on my YouTube channel. And my mom said, just promise me you'll go back in a year if you don't make it. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So
that's fair from a mom accepting it, but saying
that's actually overly fair compared to like what many parents would do.
Yeah. My mom's a philosophy professor. So she's, she very much so loves her kids and wants them to, do what makes them happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had done that and taken a break. And so I ended up not going back in my last quarter and finishing my degree. And I thought it was mostly because I wanted to get in immediately on the job opportunity, because I felt like as a commentator, as a face of like an esport, if you aren't one of the people towards the beginning, it's really hard to establish yourself. Audiences do not like new people. They don't like new people. They're going to criticize everything about them. Yeah. They don't like when you're bad. They don't like when you're good either. Like they just don't like change. So if you replace somebody, they just don't like it. I think I was originally hired to replace somebody in EU, but there ended up being an opening in NA. So after I was like trained and stuff, ready. Training is like a loose word. I kind of just did my thing until they thought I was good enough. Until then. So it
is funny though, because you get used to it, like a certain way of commentary, and even if something's better, but it's different,
it's not what you had.
You're like, nope, that's not it. That's not what we want. That's
he's too hyped for me. He's too hyped for me.
Right.
Too hyped for me. Yep. 100%.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's so much to it. It's an art. So a lot of people like different art for different reasons. And when it comes to like that, that's why I jumped in and said, you know what, I'm not going to finish my degree. I know that really sucks and all that, but if I don't go in now and I delay it, somebody else might get that job offer instead. And then they're in that spot and they're building rapport. And even if they're bad, it will take a long time for them to be pulled off camera, because they've already given people chances to like establish themselves. Because even if somebody is bad, or like people say like they're cringe or something like that, eventually if they own their cringe, they just become the cringe guy, right?
Right.
So keep pulling somebody off camera. they usually don't like to do that in esports. It's very upsetting to audiences. There's Reddit threads about where'd this guy go, where'd that guy go, why isn't this guy getting more time, etc. So, no.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. But then, yeah, that's how it started. Is it was just there was an opening. This was 2014. So, yeah. To think it was only 8 years ago. But
did you ever consider going back, or did you go back to finish your degree?
I've thought about it a lot. And I thought about it initially when I had left Riot. I was like, you know what? I'm 29. I should probably go finish it. But what am I going to do with it? Because cognitive psychology, like I have work experience, the things that people want me to do, like are performance oriented. If I get my psychology degree, what does that really do for me? Like saying that I worked for Riot Games for 5 years on a resume is way more powerful than any degree ever could be for any 100%. Of the things I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah. If I finish my bachelor's,
it's a piece of paper.
I can like host Alcoholics Anonymous. Like there's not much you can do with a psych degree. Like legitimately, you gotta.
There's not.
Like,
I got my degree in psych.
Yeah, it's like I can host Alcoholics Anonymous with like a bachelor's. If I go for master's, then I can do like marriage and family therapy and actually like be a therapist. But there's so many things that go into that, like board certification, like all this other stuff. I want to have my own practice in PhD. It's just a whole nother thing. So I was like, I'm gonna be 40 before I actually get to use any of the stuff that I learn and then affect people's lives.
Yeah, I had a crisis of mind when I was my senior year in college, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't do anything with this unless I get my PhD. And I was like, I don't think I want to get my PhD after 4 years of college. I'm like, I'm done. Like, what's happening? And it was rough. So everybody going into college that says I'm a psych major, just know at that third and fourth year.
Yeah, but like Mel went on to get her master's in applied behavioral studies.
Applied behavior science.
Yeah, and then she got board certified for ABA. I forget what it's called, but yeah. So it's definitely a whole deal, and
but it is a crisis in college because psychology sounds very interesting and it is a wonderful field, but you have to have a very high education to be able to implement what you think you're going to when you get your degree.
Which to some degree I think is fair because you're going to be affecting other human beings. So you better be fucking educated before you mess up somebody's life, you know? There are a lot of bad psychologists out there for some reason. And it's like...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad people out there with their PhD and their masters and all of that, and you just have to shop around and find the person you want. And it's hard to quality control college. I feel like
So you started working for Riot, and then at this point, like you're starting to get famous, right? I mean, like if you look at your Twitter, you have 91,000 followers. Like that's something.
91,000 friends.
Yeah, most WoW Classic, content creators have no idea what that would even be like. But what was it like working for Riot and being in the public eye and just being like an actual, public
celebrity?
Yeah, public figure, celebrity.
I feel like I was incredibly immature and not prepared for something like that.
Like anybody would be,
I actually
right?
firmly believe like the biggest thing I take from being a public figure is it's not something for me. Like I don't really like the attention. I like to argue with people and like help them like understand like things better. It's like the reason I got into commentary was because I like teaching. I like watching people succeed with the things that I give them or the information I give them. So like when it came to commentary, I was like, I guess this is like the best way for me to teach. Like my YouTube channel is all guides. It's not really commentary ever. So I think like one of the biggest things, like this is probably a little like, dark or whatever, is that I definitely, being somebody who I think was like socially awkward, I was homeschooled for high school, college, I'm, not really that social or anything like that. I think having a lot of attention from women was something I was not ready for at all. And I fucked up a lot of my relationships towards the beginning because I was just like, I don't know what to do with all this attention. Something like when my girlfriend would get mad at me or my ex, when she would get mad at me, she would yell at me, and then I would be like, you know what? I don't have to put up with this. I could just talk to somebody else who likes me. And it was really weird where I was just like, I'd be like, my girlfriend's mad at me again. And people would be like, oh no, it's okay. It's okay. Like sometimes, you really do have to like figure out how to be a mature individual. And I think I was thrust into the spotlight and I was not ready for that type of thing. I didn't think that would come with the territory, but I was, I think people were like, oh, incel stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think I had like 2 or 3 girlfriends before I was 24. And that's when I got hired. And I was just like being like, the guy who plays video games all the time and then being famous after that. That's like, yeah, definitely I'm not responsible enough to operate these types of things. Like I was like, no. So
I feel like so many people,
and I see it in a lot of other content creators too now, people who get famous and stuff. I'm like, they're not mature enough for this type of responsibility or for people looking up to them. Right. That was another thing. True. People saying like, oh, I look up to you. I'm like, you were making a bad decision, my friend. Like,
you're like, catch me in a couple of years. It might be a better role model for you.
Yeah. It's like, let me make some mistakes first. I've been doing this very long. So yeah, that was something that I learned. I was just like, oh.
Well, and like a lot of people don't realize, like, it seems so many people want to be famous, but they only see and it's getting a little better now. People are a little bit more conscious of it, but they only see the glamour of it and they don't see the bad side of it. Like I worked for Weed Road Productions on the Warner Brothers lot for a year when I was in my 20s. I met so many huge actors and lots of them hated being famous. Like they absolutely hated it. And it's so funny to watch them because early on they love it. Yeah. And then it becomes old really fast for them, it seems. And yeah, it's just like I think there's like I love the amount of fame that I have with the podcast. Like I get like a few tells in game a day that say I love what you do, like it's great. But like I don't have to worry about anything else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but casting LoL, like that's a big thing. And so like you're in the spotlight quite a bit.
You're public property at that point. There's going to be Reddit threads about you. You have a bad day. People are going to tear you a new one. You didn't ask for feedback, but you're going to get it. Like people are going to tweet you. People are going to be all over. And one of the things that I eventually learned, because I used to just sit there and like respond to people who like were upset and be like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, X, Y, and Z, or explain why things had gone the way they did so that people could better understand. I just learned that you can't really believe people when they say you're good, because then you have to believe them if they say you're bad. Right. Mm-hmm. So you just need to listen to only the people who are giving you true feedback, or your friends or people in the craft. I think a great man once told me when I was going through Reddit comments and finding the negative ones and replying to them, he said, why are you doing that? And I was like, because I'm looking for, the comment that, maybe there's one good one in here that like somebody's actually giving, because people are saying, oh, you're shit. Somebody might be like, I don't like how he does this or that. Maybe there's like some gold there. And he's like, you wouldn't jump into a lake of shit for a candy bar at the bottom. So why would you do that with Reddit? I was like,
and
he is kind of right.
That's good. I like it.
Why would I subject myself to all of the negative stuff just to try and find the one constructive thing in there? It's not worth my mental at that point. Yeah.
That's something I'm learning, like, because like we're huge on audio, like huge, right? Like we're in the top 200 gaming podcasts across all of iTunes and Spotify weekly, right?
Nice.
And we get so much love there, but like we're starting to grow on YouTube.
Oh, the YouTube comments.
Yeah, a little bit. And like there'll be comments like, once again, Bob interrupts with like, a stupid thing and just ruins the whole thing. And I'm like, and I'll reply and I'm like, hey, can you give me the timestamp so I can see what you're talking about so I can maybe improve? And nobody ever answers me.
They ain't going to do that. They ain't going to do that shit for you. And if they are, it's going to be a big argument back and forth. And you're just like, oh, but that wasn't really stupid. It was like, I was saying stupid to me. Like,
yeah. But like how helpful is it?
It's not.
I would love to see, I don't care if you don't like me. Like I've got thick skin. I grew up with a stutter. Like, you can make fun of me as much as you want. I just want to get better. for because I enjoyed doing it, but like nobody ever really ever answers. They just talk shit, and then you
Nobody's
come
gonna
out
own their feedback. Right?
Yeah, you come at them with like, "Hey, well, what can I do different?" And they're like, pfft. So I'm learning that too now, dealing with YouTube comments.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about, like, I have a master's in behavior analysis, right? Like, this behavior is very much just attention-seeking behavior, right? Like, they just want to comment and vent and do whatever they want.
Nobody's commenting to genuinely make you better.
Exactly. And that's the point, right? Like, if they wanted to comment and genuinely make you better, they would send you an email and they would say, hey, I love the podcast, but X, Y, and Z, here's some things that I think you could do better. And great, we would listen to that 100%. But I'm not going to go through trolling the Reddit and the, YouTube comments, because they don't mean as much to me. Sure, you can tell me that I laugh too much, or that I am, like, too positive or focus too much on the money, and like, whatever, like, that's fine. That's your opinion. Go for it. But
to give Zirene a little bit of context, anytime we're talking about Blizzard and why they're doing things, Mel is the money lady. She's like, well, you have to think of it from a business standpoint. So she's always the money person.
I'm not the money lady. I'm the realistic lady. I'm like, they're a business. All
right, money lady.
Doing this right. Somebody's got to tell them, right? Like, no business, like, everybody wants this ideal business that's just focused on player satisfaction. And guess what? That's just not a reality in our society, right? They have to make money to pay their staff to do the things that we want them to do. And if we want them to do those things, they have to make money. And I'm sorry that you disagree with X, Y, or Z comment, but it is the reality of the situation.
And we love it on the show because you're actually a VP at a company and you actually know what it takes to run a company, which is awesome for the podcast.
Yeah, money sucks. And I hate money. But guess what? It is what fuels the fire, right? Like, I provide therapy to children, and we can't provide therapy if we don't make money. And as much as I want to say it's all about the quality of therapy to children, it is 100%, but I can only provide that quality if I make the money. So there's this balance, right? We can't spend $1 million making renovations to a center if we don't have that coming back in.
So just to bring it back, what was it like, like now you're casting live, you're going to different events, like I assume you probably went overseas a few times. Like, do you have any,
a lot of travel?
Like, do you want to tell us what was like, what that wild ride was like? And maybe do you have any fun stories to share before we move on to WoW?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
nothing ever happened, right? It was all just
it was all really boring. No, it was a lot of fun. There was like, there were times where we would go to Germany because that's where the LCS or the EU LCS or LEC studio is. I remember being in Berlin for Worlds at one point, Spain. Oh God, there's always these like such behind the scenes stories like that. Yeah. There's one time where I think we were in Spain and me and another commentator both matched with the same girl on Tinder. That was a fun breakfast where it's like, oh, I matched with this girl on Tinder, and he's like, oh, yeah, really, me too. And I was like, yeah, she's blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, wait a second. I was like, wait a second. Oh, good Lord. So yeah, there was a lot of traveling. I think at one point I actually, there was a time I didn't go to, I think it was mid-season invitational in Brazil. And it was because I have a chronic illness. I have ulcerative colitis. So I can't get the yellow fever vaccine because it's a live vaccine. So vaccines are normally like weakened versions of whatever virus, right? And they inject it into you and your body goes like, hey, what is this shit? Like pulls apart the dead virus and goes, okay, well, let's figure out how to like fight this type of thing. So the live virus, sort of weakened version of it is what's injected into you for like the yellow fever vaccine. So I couldn't have that. So I actually couldn't go there because there was like a malaria outbreak or something. And so they just like required different vaccinations to come to Brazil. So yeah, there's times like that things don't always go perfectly. People get sick on the road. Some people are like, God, there's times people have gone and they just stay in their hotel the whole time because they've just been sick. Right. And I think probably like one of the weirdest stories that I have is when I went to Madison Square Garden for TSM versus CLG, and we were up on the catwalk. We're keeping kind of the commentators away from everybody else. Everybody's down below in the stadium. The games are finally over after a hard day's work. We have to change out of our suits. So we're changing out of our suits and we're up on the catwalk. There's like security and all that. And randomly, this really skinny guy comes up, looks like really frail, definitely a League of Legends player, definitely a fan, walks up while we are all in our underwear.
Oh God!
I don't know how he got up there.
Selfie
time.
Like,
Freak has like one leg in his pants. Like he's just he's like Kobe's got his shirt off and he just walks up and he's like, "I'm a big fan. Can I get an autograph?" And then our caster, like everybody just slowly looks at our caster manager, just like,
like what's happening right now?
Kim, what the fuck is this? And she's like, let's go for a walk.
Wow.
So she like grabs him and she's just like, here, you know what? They're changing right now. Really inappropriate. Like walks him out.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe in a few minutes. Like, yeah, maybe hey, but all power to him, right?
Like how did he get up dedication. She comes back. She's like, how did he get up here? We have like security like at the front entrance and stuff. How did he get? There's an elevator too. Apparently he like jumped over the side or something to get up there. Jumped from like one of the stairs or the chairs or something. And so I was walking back afterwards. This is like maybe like 30 minutes later, walking back afterwards on the street towards the hotel. And then this guy runs up and it's the same dude.
Same guy?
Yeah, same dude. And he's like, sorry about what happened back there. Can I get your autograph? And I'm like, yeah, man. Oh God. He apparently like waited around or like something, but he found us. I don't know how tenacious. He found us, but he found us. Yeah, he was tenacious. He found us. And so, you know, we sign it for him. And then I don't remember which person it was, but they were kind of like, not going to sign that. That was really uncomfortable. I'd rather forget about it type thing. They were like, they just like, they're just keep moving. I'm just going to keep moving. So, you know, we close out the day and we have a good time. God, there was a time where one of the players, oh my God, it was an after party and a fan came up to one of the players, he's blasted drunk. And the player had like just won and he goes, Darshan, I don't care what anyone else says. I don't think you're fucking shit. I was like, what? Wait. He's like, thanks.
Thank you.
I don't think you're bad.
Oh my God. It's like people are saying a compliment that's so insulting at the same time. I don't care what everyone else says.
This podcast doesn't suck. Like, it's like,
come on.
Zirene, I had a similar thing happen to me. We went to the Dallas Fuel Homestead Season 2 in I forget
Dallas.
Dallas?
It was outside of Dallas though. Like,
but no, it was in Dallas.
Okay, well, we went there. Mel and I had custom jerseys made. She had Outlaws. I had Dallas Fuel. Mine said Blazing Bob on the back. So I'm in the bathroom at the event, and this drunk guy is like, Blazing Bob, the podcast guy, right? I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, you're not as fat as I thought you'd be.
No.
And all I thought immediately was like, not as fat? Oh man, but yeah,
not as
funny.
Fat.
Right?
I haven't thought about that for a long time.
It's not like you're not fat like I thought you would be, but you're not as fat. Yeah, let's really hone in on that.
It's the complisalt. You're just like, I want to take the compliment, but I gotta take the insult with it. Like, why'd you just combine it like that?
I'd rather you not say anything, to be honest.
Oh, that's great. Well,
there's a follow-up to the Madison Square Garden story, though, is that about 3 years later, I'm just minding my own business at home, playing a ranked game, get in a lobby, and a guy goes, Zirene. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, real Zirene? And I'm like, yeah, it's the real Zirene. And he's like, I met you once. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I honestly, when people tell me they've met me, I almost can never remember what their name was or anything like that. I feel shitty. Like even if I had the best memory, there's just so many people that you meet and they do so many different things that somebody be like, oh, I'm the guy who did this. And I'm like, I still don't remember that, man. Like the guy who bought you a drink at a bar. Fuck. Like, sorry, man.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, I appreciate it. But this guy goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, so like, well, I hope it was a good interaction. And he's like, no, it wasn't that great for you for the most part. And I was like, oh, and he goes, I'm the guy who ran up at Madison Square Garden. I'm like, the guy who ran up while we were changing? He's like, it's me.
He's like,
you
his
remembered.
behavior works. He made an impression.
Yeah. You remembered.
Mezzanine guy, remember?
Note to self, anybody that wants to stay in Zirene's memory, you just have to catch him while he's changing.
Yep. Okay, please don't. Oh my god, that was the most surreal part of it. Was just he just took me back to that moment. I was like, God, how? I asked him, I'm like, how did you get up there? And he's like, I got lost.
That's hilarious.
He was shaking though. It's actually so adorable. Some people, when you meet them, they're actually like shaking, and I was like, damn, this is like, you know, you put your hand over them for the photo or something, and they're just like shaking like violently, right. And I'm like, oh God, okay, just be as nice as possible.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, honestly, like I've been on the shaking side of it before. I mean, I don't think I've ever told this story on the podcast, but like I talked about how I'd worked at Weed Road Productions. We were on the Warner Brothers lot, worked with a lot of different celebrities, but I'm getting lunch because I was the, gopher guy, like go for this, go for that. Mel knows exactly this, where I'm going, but I'm getting, so the cafeteria at Warner Brothers isn't really a cafeteria. It's like fine dining, all kinds of different things, like pizza that they cook in the huge, like, where they have the big thing and they get the like brick
oven stove.
Yeah, oven where they cook everything. Like, I mean, even the tuna salad looks like it was like gourmet, but I'm standing in line for the Mexican stuff, right? And I've got my orders from everybody at the office, and I'm looking over and I see this girl, right? But like, I see her calves. This sounds weird, but like, I'm like, huh, it's very toned. I was like, oh, that's a nice red dress. And I'm just kind of like moving, my eyes are like moving up, right? And then I get up to her face and she's looking right at me. Like, how long, like, did she see me just like looking at her this whole time? She's looking right at me. And I was like, oh, she's really pretty. Oh, that's Jennifer Aniston. I like turned my head immediately, freaked out, was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get kicked off the lot. Cause like, if you mess with a huge celebrity, like you're out of there. Like, and I was just like, oh my God, I just stared at Jennifer Aniston and she saw me do it. This is horrible. So I stood in line, about 5 more people go by. I go put my order in. I'm standing there. I'm trying not to look at anything but the menu on the Mexican stuff, right? I get my order. I'm standing there getting everybody, because there was like 7 different types of salsa. So I'm getting all these different salsa that everybody wanted. I've got a list. And all of a sudden I get hip checked. But it was more like it hit like the bottom of my leg, like, because their hips was a lot shorter than mine. I get hip checked. And I look over to the left and it's Jennifer Aniston. And she goes, are you just going to hog the entire salsa bar? And she like, kind of like puckers. And like, you think you're going to be cool at that point, right? I was like, no, I'm sorry. I grabbed my bag, I left the salsa, and I just jetted, like just took off, right? And then I get back to the office and I'm like, they're like, where's the salsa? I was like, oh, I forgot the salsa. And so I'm like,
Jennifer Aniston has your salsa.
I'm like, just been like Jennifer Aniston. Jennifer Aniston.
I'm like walking back. I'm like, oh my God, I hope she's still not there. I'm pretty like, I don't know if she was flirting with me or if she was just messing with me because she saw how like freaked out I got when like I was looking at her, but like, it's also a weird thing to think about. I was currently working on the movie with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, the one where they were assassins. Oh my God, why am
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yes, yes. And so that, like, Weed Road was producing that movie, and I, thought about it later, like a year later, and I was like, dude, that's when they were breaking up. Was Jennifer Aniston hitting on me? And I missed this. Like, but I was like literally shaking.
You had to marry Mel. We were not together at this point.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. This was before
He's
we
much
met.
older than me.
But
obviously.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I just remember shaking, like, and not being able to say a word to her when she like was right next to me. I was like, and I just ran off. But yeah, so I've been on the other side. Sorry, that story was probably uncalled for on a WoW podcast.
It's great. Stuff like that is always funny.
Well, let's talk about WoW, because we've talked about Riot a bunch. It was a blast. I'm sure it was a good time. But let's talk about WoW. So let's talk about your background in WoW. You gave a little bit of it at the start, but like, when did you start playing, and how long did you play for?
I started playing near the very beginning of original WoW. Played all the way through vanilla, cleared Nax and with Vicious Cycle.
You cleared Nax in vanilla?
Yeah.
Cleared?
Vicious Cycle actually had one of the world first Thaddeus kills.
We got 4 or 5 bosses down, but that was it, man.
Yeah. We were progressing. 4 Horsemen was extremely hard back then. Just extremely hard.
Do you remember what server you were on?
I think I was originally on. I was originally rolling on Dark Iron, and then I think I moved to Frostmain. It was either Frostmain or Killjaden. It was one of those two.
Okay,
but I started off on Dark Iron and then transferred.
We started on Burning Legion, but then I think we transferred to Monkthal. It's so hard to remember exactly.
Yeah, all I remember is I was in BG9 for the PvP stuff.
See, I'm pretty sure we were too, but I can't, like, because we transferred like halfway through. Like, I just don't remember. I know Burning Legion, I think, was in BG9, but yeah, it all kind of runs together.
There wasn't a lot of guilds that downed Nax, though.
No, there was not.
No. It was like less than 1% of the population.
It's very, very hard. It was very hard.
It was nuts. And we were at that point to where our guild had done, like, on our server, we had done like Neff, like second on the server. Like, I mean, we were good, but like we just kept having people leave. And then you get new people in, you have to rerun Molten Core the entire time. This is back in the days when you're raiding 5 days a week, 6 to 9 hours.
I was going to ask you, like, so we raided like 5 days a week, like multiple hours a day. Like, was that the same for you guys?
Yeah, it was like that. We would
just to clear this is one so cool because content, right? Like, you raid 7 days a week now, but you have 7 characters you raid with.
Back then,
like,
I only had like
1
2
character.
So, yeah.
What's crazy is most of the guests we have on, like, we actually did more in vanilla than they did. Like, this is actually rare. I don't think we've ever had anybody on that cleared Nax in original. That is freaking nuts.
Yeah. It was really hard, and like people didn't get world buffs and stuff back then. So I played a Rogue and Warrior. So.
Yeah, we never got them. Like,
you wiped way too much to get world buffs.
Oh yeah. Then. Oh yeah. God. And I remember why the guild eventually fell apart was we had a tank leave, and so we were like, we have to gear up another person, like teach them fights. 4 Horsemen's just a disaster the next week. You can't clear it. You're just like, we're hitting a wall. And so they're basically like, it's time to disband. It's time to go next. Wait until expansion.
And I assume 4 Horsemen was rough because, I mean, I don't know if your experience was different, but like Warrior DPS was not there really. Like, it was not prevalent.
Fury was a joke for the most part.
Yeah, like I mean, people didn't realize they needed to start in leather. Like, there were so many people tried to do warrior DPS in the wrong gear. Like we just didn't know. I mean, I'm like,
no world buffs.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like, yeah, so I can imagine 4 horse being just a nightmare if you don't have like a plethora of warriors.
Yep, because you brought warriors mostly for tanking, right? So you had to figure out how to do the fight with only a certain amount of warriors that are geared for tanking, and then the other ones are like rotational, and you have to like, tell one person that they're moving off a horse and grab it from them. So you only had like 6 people or something. Some strategies required like 8. And you were like, how many warriors are we going to have that are geared to do this? And it was really, really rough. So,
yeah, different things like everybody wasn't an engineer. Like, like there were so many different. This is so cool to have somebody that actually lived through it like us. This is awesome.
Dude, I remember everybody was playing Mortal Strike. They had Arcanite Reaper. Yeah. You're playing that in Molten Core. And I was like, what about Fury? Like, I always wanted to try Fury back and forth. There were a few things bad about Fury. Fury, the 31st talent point wasn't Bloodthirst until BWL, I think.
Until it
was once you kill something, your next ability does 100% damage. So you would do slam, right? You'd kill something and then you would slam. Fury was the leveling spec. And that's basically all there was to it.
Yeah, gear was way different too. Like, I mean, everybody talks about the Corehound belt, but that wasn't in the game until later. Like these
Onslaught Girdle was not.
Yeah, Onslaught Girdle. That's the one I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like there were so many differences in like, I mean, rogues were your like top DPS across the board that I remember.
And backstab was very good back then because things weren't normalized attack power wise. So the speed of your weapon mattered for ambush and backstab. So the Barman Shanker, the 2.0 speed little thing from the Grim Guzzler, that thing was ambushing for more than Perdition's Blade because it was a slower weapon. And that's when they had to normalize stuff and normalize two-handed swings.
Oh, I need to clip this so I can show my guild, because they laughed at me when I told them Dagger spec was like the spec in BWL, and they're like, no way. And I'm like, dude, that's what it was. It's been like it was a lot different.
And Veil Straz, you were just like you were obviously top damage. You still were like in Classic and like TBC, because just backstab just does so much. Like I, as a combat rogue with swords, was still using a dagger on Veil Straz.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, Veil. But I mean, across the board, daggers was just the way to go for the longest time in original vanilla, and so it's
CTS.
awesome.
Listen, I was a druid healer in vanilla.
Ooh, yeah.
Which was basically an innervate bot. Was my sole purpose.
Guess what race sex combination I played for my rogue?
Probably the same as me, Night Elf Rogue.
I was Night Elf. I was Night Elf female.
Dude, I was literally okay. So I was in.
Everyone back in the day was Night Elf.
Everyone. I was in Altaric Valley just yesterday, and I was like, a Night Elf Rogue. Holy shit! It's like a unicorn. I mean, it's so funny. It's funny.
A unicorn that you're gonna mock because they're a Night Elf. But yeah, like that's why I rolled human this time, because I remember being in Nax Ramus. I had misplaced servo arm, and they were like, your damage is really good. We can have you go hemo. And like, I was a hemo PvE rogue for some reason that was just helping everybody else.
We had one of those too.
Yeah, it was weird. So I had like misplaced servo arm, and I remember even when I went combat, I was like, this human rogue just always does more damage than me. And I don't know why. This human rogue is just doing more than me. And then eventually that's how I learned about weapon skill. Was that, and I was like,
dude,
really? Like, there's no way for me to make this up. Like, I was like, what? There's no way for me to make this up at all. Like,
yeah, and with daggers, you could in the spec. So like, it was huge for us back then.
Yeah, you could use you could use what was it?
Yeah, I forget the talent, but it would give you up to 5 more weapon skill and daggers,
and then you would use Death Sting in your offhand, because that. Hello, Bob. You back?
Welcome back.
We just we didn't lose the stream.
Nope, I didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
We're literally 3 feet apart.
That was weird. Let me turn my camera back on so this fix. Okay. Weird. Okay,
well, I'm Blazing Bob now. This is my show.
I'm Zirene. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Discord just like did something weird there. Weird. Sorry.
No, all good. But yeah, so I remember one of the biggest changes too was until late BWL, they had buffed Bloodthirst twice. I think it did like 30% of your AP, and then it had to go to 35 and then 40. But hit chance didn't affect your offhand. So if you were dual wielding, hit chance didn't work on your offhand until like almost AQ.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there were a lot of classes that were like that. People were like, fire mages are so good. And like, they were good relative to, you know, how bad everything else was. Like the game just wasn't completely fleshed out. I remember this is my boomer talk right now is I remember when Kings was the 31st Ret talent.
Yep.
So you had to have a paladin spec'd into Ret for Kings, and they didn't have greater blessings. That didn't exist until BWL. So a paladin had to 5 minute. Did a 5 minute blessing everybody in the raid with Kings, and by the time you were done, you had to start again. It was just like it was awful.
And they had so little mana. I remember our Ret early on had an actual like he had cloth gear, and like he would drink at the start, like before we got to the boss, he would drink, and he wouldn't even mess with putting Kings on during trash because of that. Like, so he would get in, he would drink, and then right before he would use that, and then he would switch to his other set. Like there was a lot of different min-maxing things like that.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh man, that's crazy. Okay, well, so like, how long did you play for? Did you play all throughout, or?
So I played all the way through TBC as well. My guild killed Muru like the day after it got nerfed. So it was like Muru had just been downed. I actually have like old school photo bucket stuff of me MS painting Kill Jaden positions. Like just drawing the room. I remember like I went back into my photo bucket and I'm just like, oh my God, these still exist. It's like me drawing KJ's room with like little dots of like where we stack.
Think of how much easier it is now.
Oh yeah, man. It was insane. So right now it's just, you just go to Raid.io or whatever it is and get those little sheets that have all the good stuff. You can just move around really easily in the boss room.
That's actually what we used for KJ, where our raid leader put our positions for the spread.
Exactly. Yeah. Back then it was MS Paint. I was just throwing it up there. So yeah, I played through all of TBC, which is why it's like so fond to me in terms of playing it, and I absolutely love it. And then Wrath of the Lich King came, and I played through Old War, and then when Trial of the Grand Crusader came out, I quit. Because I think that's around the time they did, like, first off, I didn't like that raid at all, and it gave me a lot of time to kind of fall out of love with it. Plus, I had redone Nax, and I was like kind of burnt on that. I know a lot of people hadn't experienced Nax, and that's why they redid it. But for me, it was kind of more of the same, but with like a worse guild. And so doing that was kind of meh. Then Old War kept me in it, and Trial of the Grand Crusader was just like, no, I can't. So that's when I quit the game. Is that point? I think that's also when they took out. You get Gladiator from twos, I think is that time.
Yeah.
and I was a twos player.
Yeah, I think it's right around that time. It's funny. Mel and I actually quit during TOC. It was kind of a little bit later in TOC. But we got burnt out because TOC. Trial of Crusader. Yeah. So
I was like, wait a minute.
It was Mel. It was the one where we had to do 10-man heroic, 25-man. 25-man heroic, and we wanted to kill ourselves, killing these same bosses over and over again, and like you felt like you weren't moving anywhere, and the gear was all weird with the way you like upgrade and like get different gear. Like it just turned us off completely. So we actually quit and then came back for Kata. No, we actually didn't do ICC. Yeah, we just quit and then came back for Kata. But yeah, TOC was not fun.
Yeah, I remember I quit during that time, and then I came back for ICC, but nobody really had openings in terms of their guild, so I really was just on the back burner. I did like maybe 1 or 2 ICC runs, and they weren't very good. So
we did we came into TBC and tried to do a like casual friends group.
No, Wrath.
Was that Wrath?
Yeah, Wrath is when we were like, oh, we're just gonna do like at the start of Wrath, we're just gonna do 10 mans with our real life buddies, and we did that, and we weren't happy with that. So then we joined up with another guild, did 25 man. Then everybody quit, real life friends, and we joined one of the best guilds on the server from that point on, and did Ulduar from that point on with one of the best guilds, and then quit in TOC.
But TBC, we just PvP'd. We didn't do any of the...
Yeah, TBC, I mean, we did Kara a few times for badges later and stuff, like to get some of the gear that would offset for PvP, but we really just played casually throughout the entirety of TBC.
What year was TBC original?
2007.
2007, yeah. And then we came back for Kata, and then you ended up quitting to go do your Masters.
Okay, I was trying to get my timeline right.
Yep.
Yeah, but did a little ICC, and then Kata came out, and I quit, and then I really didn't play any other expansion until I tried BFA a little bit, and then I quit. And I tried Shadowlands, and then I quit. So
yeah, we didn't play it all.
Just hasn't done it for me.
Yeah, we didn't play it all after we quit in Kata. I did come back in MOP because there was like a recruiter friend instant 90 boost. Mm-hmm. And then I looked around for about 15 minutes looking at my character, and then I realized they had completely changed the talents, and I just logged out.
Too much. Don't read. We know read.
Yeah. So did you play any private servers?
No, I didn't play any private servers. I basically just went off everything I knew from like TBC and original WoW. Which, surprisingly, some of it holds up, but a lot of things are blurry. And that's one of the things about Wrath that's going to be scary is I really don't remember Wrath as fondly or as vividly as I do original WoW and TBC. Like I don't remember almost anything from Wrath. I couldn't tell you what half the boss fights do or anything like that. I just remember a little bit of Ulduar, but I don't remember pretty much anything else. It's just...
Yeah.
The thing I love about Wrath for PvP, I love that the fact that everything goes from chance to resist to duration reduction, which for someone like a rogue and stuff, like a 5 bubble cheap shot getting resisted just feels bad. Like,
it feels awful.
But like, if hey, this priest is going to have 15% less, time on it, like that's okay. Like that's something you could play around with. That's one thing. And then the buffs, the raid wide buffs. I really love not having to beg my raid leader to put me in the right group and just being able to pump and be on the same level as everybody else without a whole lot of fuss. Like that part I really like.
I love it when they stop changing the groups because it really messes with my UI.
It really does. It sucks. You're like clicking on somebody to heal them and they get moved. You're like, whoa, where'd he go? You're like,
wait a minute, hold on. This person's here. Now all of a sudden my tank is not a tank anymore for a half a second. Like it's so bad.
Oh, well, that's a good question. You said tank. Well, you tank like basically classic. Did you tank back in no, you said you played Rogue, right? So
I played Rogue, but I also had a warrior that I did Fury and like messed around with. I had Thunder Fury back then too, so I did tank.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So your like favorite classes to play, probably Rogue and Warrior.
Yeah, back then for sure. And then I started playing more HPAL and played a lot of Holy Paladin and TBC originally. And now it's like just Paladin in general. So I'm a big Paladin person, but not so much Ret. Not so much Ret. Ret looks fun and all, but
why? Ret seems to be like the best class ever.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm gonna be, yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people want it a lot of people want it in Wrath. So,
well, and what's crazy is Scotty J did a video recently. He's been doing these ones where like pre-patch damage, like with the talents at level 70, and his chat showed him a Ret Paladin 1-button macro that actually performed really well. Like, it's just a 1-button macro with everything in like the right order of what you want up, and he literally just hit one button and pulled like 2.2k
That's not
DPS.
Playing the game. Come on.
But mages would disagree.
But it's really funny. I mean, there was a 1-button macro for hunters.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you can do it, you can do it. Someone was telling me there's one for rogue, and I just don't see how that's possible with combo points. Like, unless you could put like, if statements and macros, and I don't think you can. But
it's not like Excel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you play both Alliance and Horde now. Do you have like a bias towards one? Are you pro?
I have a bias towards Horde? Alliance, even though I think Horde are better. Right? Like, I think the Horde racials typically throughout the first 2 expansions are just better.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot more control on my Blood Elf Paladins than my Human and my Dwarf, because if there's a pack that's casting, you just silence them. Yep. You don't need an Arcane Bomb, you just silence them.
It's
so much easier.
Pretty nice.
So, listen, but the Alliance cities are just so much prettier.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, one of the reasons I couldn't play Horde back in the day, and I just went with Alliance way back in like 2005, was because the starting areas just made me feel really depressed. And I already have this like feeling in my pit of like my stomach when I'm like grinding that I'm like, I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like empty. Like I'm just mindlessly grinding mobs, doing quests, all that stuff. Right. And then add that on top of being in the Barrens or Durotar or in Tirisfal. Like that stuff just, for me, it does me, and I can't really like feel happy doing that. So Elwyn Forest is home for me, man. Like if I go roll a dwarf, I'm like, get me to Elwyn Forest as fast as possible. Like get me over there to level. So that's how I feel. So,
I feel you. Yeah. Alliance is prettier. I feel like when I joined, Alliance was the only option, because when I joined in vanilla, it was like, okay, there's no one on the Horde side that I can choose and feel happy about playing. Like an undead, a troll, torrent. Like no.
Yeah.
It's just not
and then
happen.
Blood Elves happened. No.
That's and exactly then I went what Horde. Happened. Yep. And then
to be honest,
I firmly believe that Blood Elves are the reason that the faction balance exists so much, 100%. So heavily. Because not only were they insane with the racial that they got, they also were on the bad guy side and looked good
and pretty.
Right?
Yeah,
and they were pretty. So I was like, oh no. I was like, because I had played like Warcraft 3 and stuff. I was like, why are Blood Elves not on the Alliance side? Like they were working with the Alliance originally. Why don't we have those? And they gave them to Horde. And I was like, this is fucked, dude. Like we're done over here. We're done. Like
done.
We're absolutely done. So yeah, 100%. I actually believe that's why the faction balance exists to the
I
degree
feel with you. That was the beginning of the end. That's where Horde overtook, is they got a pretty character. Yeah. 100%. Come on, guys.
100%. Because like people played Horde back in the day.
Ugly. I think we see a little, shift in balance here.
Mud elves. Take it past that. If you're a Blood Elf on Horde, you're even more attractive because there's so many less attractive people around you. It's kind of like the opposite of being in LA. Like when I was younger, I was a fairly good looking dude. But in, Kansas, I was like, an 8. In LA, I was a 4. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
it does work like that. Like it really does.
When you go to meet a really, cute guy, you bring your less attractive friends with you, and you're like,
I've never thought about this. Blood Elf on the Horde, you're actually more more
Zirene,
attractive.
I think you've really targeted here where it went wrong. And it wasn't Dungeon Finder.
Nope.
It was Blood Elves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a faction balance. The game by itself, the Dungeon Finder is a whole different thing. But,
oh man, that's great. All right, well, let's talk about your content. So we've talked about your YouTube channel a couple times. You haven't really done much with it as of late. No. Like go over what that was and what you did with it.
Yeah, basically, it was when I was in college and I was trying to do something with my time to like help people. And I was like, I'm really good at video games. I'm just going to help people get better. So I would just like play a champion. I would turn on the recording and I would just go and then I would just upload it. And then I'd just make a silly thumbnail. It would be like, hey guys, what's up? My name's Zirene. I'm going to be playing this champion today in the jungle. We're going to be building this. This is what we start. This is our like ability order, whatever. And it's full gameplay from start to finish, no editing. And I would just spam that. It ended up getting like 32,000 subscribers in 3 months. So it was very, very quick. Back in the day, it was a very different game in terms of, how many people were doing YouTube and the expected quality. Like now that stuff wouldn't fly. Like full gameplays they definitely don't do well. People watch Twitch instead. So, I just wanted to help people get better at a champion or have like a guide that people could watch at the full length one. That would kind of showcase how to play the champion. And one of the things people liked is that I wouldn't just show games where I stomped the game or won really hard. They were like, it seems really honest because you're like playing the champion. And even if you do well personally, like if your team loses, you don't throw away the footage or something. Like a lot of YouTubers are like, me 14-2, click, you'll never guess what happened. So a lot of people like that I didn't like clickbait things.
That's actually really interesting point because like we talk about our struggles in raid like on this pod, and it's hilarious how many people, high-end people that just destroy content that love to listen to ours to like hear what people struggle with, like it's like, and we're not shy about saying, well, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. So I mean, yeah, that is a good point. Like there's a lot of people that just won't show when they did poorly. That's cool.
Yeah. And I know that like I'm in the educational side of things. So entertainment is what's a little bit more appealing for Twitch, for YouTube, etc. But yeah, that's basically what my YouTube channel was. Is it was just a side project while I was in college. I don't really upload to it now because it's one of the things too where like, we're talking about my Twitter where it has 91K followers. I used to have over 100K and it's just been going down over time since I left Riot. But that's the thing is people don't follow me a lot of times for me. They follow me because of LCS or they follow me because of League of Legends. So I feel this is the kind of strange dilemma, not to like put it on you guys or anything like that or out there. But the way that sometimes I feel is like people, I don't feel like appropriate putting a WoW video on my League of Legends YouTube from long ago, even though it's my YouTube. And I don't really feel like it's appropriate for me to tweet about WoW on my Twitter, even though it's my Twitter. It's weird because I know that it'll just lose me followers, but the followers weren't there for that anyway. And it's better that they leave so that eventually I can start having real growth of like a WoW section of things. But I don't know. It's weird where I'm like, you guys didn't sign up for following that. If I ever was going to do that, I'd probably make a whole new account, right? I'd probably just make a Zirene WoW or something, right? Well, and then just grow again naturally, even though I know this one obviously has a lot more appeal to brands and stuff.
What's weird though about WoW Classic and Twitter is I look at all these different huge content creators, like even Willie, right? He has videos that have 250,000 views, a ton of them, right? But then his Twitter is like, I think the last time I looked at it was like 1,300 followers, right? And then for me, like when I started Warcraft Reloaded, I had like 900 and some followers. Now I have 1,000 and some followers. Like all of the followers that I had were all from Overwatch League, like and doing Overwatch podcasts. And it just seems like the WoW Classic crowd just isn't into Twitter. You probably would get. I'm guessing they're all on They're all boomers on Facebook. Like that's my guess. But like, it's interesting that you say that. So there's no thoughts about maybe making a new channel for Classic WoW? Because I know, for instance, Yip used to get bugged because he was a warrior tank through the first half of TBC for us. He used to get bugged constantly for people wanting tips on how to tank as a warrior. Like, that's something that nobody did through TBC that could have been a huge market. Like, have you ever thought about doing anything like that?
I've thought about it. Like, a lot of people come by and I ask questions and things like that. I know that it's good to do that when you know what to do.
It's a lot of work, though.
It is a lot of work, but I don't know. It's not really as much as people would like make it out to be, right? Like, I was working for like Pro Guides, and you do guides, editing, all that type of stuff. So I think for me, I could have done it. I should have done it probably. And going into Wrath, I feel a lot less encouraged to do it because I don't know Wrath, and there's a lot of private server people who do. So I don't have those guides where it's like, hey, let me show you this. Like, I know this, I know that, prepare with this. So I'm not going to be as helpful. But as I learn Wrath, I might get into that.
But you know what? I feel
like that was what held Yip back. But like, there's so much stuff that's wrong on the private servers. You know, like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying is that I think that there's a lot of information that comes out pre-patch that is wrong. And then the people that actually do the content in, like, because you have an advantage that you're in a good guild, you're very skilled, and that you're probably going to clear the content before a lot of other people, right?
Yeah.
So you clear the content and then provide your expertise on it, I think is super beneficial to people like our guild who are still clearing content, just not as quickly. And we see that video and we're like, oh, okay, here, let's try this, right? Because what we're doing is not working. We haven't cleared, KJ yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But
yeah, it's interesting.
Again,
yeah, like,
it's a time.
I really do like helping.
It's a time thing too. Like, is it worth your time to do X, Y, or Z? And how many people will you actually benefit, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's
and
the thing too, right?
Channel's rough.
Like I was talking about back in the day when I did like coaching for like commentary, it was one of those things where I was like, this is not scalable. Like, it's so hard to scale. That's like, it's an art. Everybody's is different in terms of their craft, what they need to work on and improve on. So it was like, I gave up on it eventually because I was like, people, if they want tutoring, they can come to me. There's no like program I can throw out there. And when it comes to this, it's like, well, working with a guild and like being 26-man raid lead and helping them with how to do KJ, that kind of is scalable to some degree where you're like, this is what you do in the fight, right? The fights are very static in terms of how they operate. For the most part, there is like obviously some RNG and things like that. But yeah, no, it seems like even if it would help more than one person, it probably takes the same amount of time to help one or two or maybe three people individually than to help even more than three, right? Just because I'm sure it would reach more than three people. So yeah, that's an interesting
something
thing
that'd be fun would be like, and we used to see this all the time in Overwatch, and Yip kind of did it the other day with like a Warcraft logs review of like how you could improve. But even like consulting with people where you say, hey, I'll be the 26th man on your, raid, and I'm going to post it on YouTube, right? Like,
that would be a good YouTube post.
It's like
really
a VOD review.
Yeah, good
right?
call.
Like, it's almost like not a VOD review, but like a in-time review. And then even if it was like, hey, let's go back and reconsider some of these factors, like, I don't know, like things like that, I think would be so interesting. I found the most benefit from Overwatch getting VOD reviewed myself, right? Which was terrifying at the same time. But it's like, hey, you could do this to improve, you could do this to improve. And lots of times those general guides are great, but they don't help individuals improve necessarily, right?
Whereas you're probably pointing out different things before the fight and everything. Like, that would be unbelievably good for people learning fights, because most of the guys are like, and then there's this ability, and they show a little bit of gameplay, but like, you're just not seeing it. I remember back when we were doing four horse, and like, I watched so many guides, but then I watched some like YouTube that had like 78 views, and it was from a healer's perspective, a druid, and all of a sudden I understood everything. Like I just watched that one fight, and yeah, the guides had probably helped, like me knowing the abilities, but just the rotation was like, oh, I get it. Okay, like so I don't know. That could be a really cool idea.
It actually is. I like that a lot. Like that's something that I might put more thought into and figure out if that's how I want to do things, because it's definitely appealing. It's definitely appealing to me and kind of the way I like to do things. So.
Or just here offering suggestions.
Yeah, I'm like career advice or like,
here, how
like,
about this?
Yeah,
how about
content
this?
suggestion. Yeah.
We're like, I'd like to see this. So if you want to do that, that'd be great.
But that's always some of the best talented. Too, right? Yeah. Like you guys, like as content creators, you guys understand like kind of what you want to see. So I think it's really big where if you're going to release content, like in my opinion, I would only release content that I would want to watch, like that I think is something that I would want to see. Right. I'm usually going to release content for me, it's kind of the thing. If there's a little me out there with less knowledge, this is what I would want to watch. I don't do it for the masses ever.
There's the whole reason I started this pod was because I was like, there's not enough podcasts, now we're getting good. We've got Prepared, yours. We've got Scotty J and Rug's limited series,
Stewards.
Yeah, we've got, we've always got Countdown to Classic. It's just, you don't know when the episodes are going to come, but like, yeah, the more, the better, because I like podcasts. So that's why I was like, well, I'll just make my own so that I can have more of it. All right. So you stream regularly now.
Yes, I do.
Like 7 days a week, 7 days of raiding. Like what's a typical stream like?
Typical stream is I'll usually start stream right before raid or like before we pull, etc. We're buffing up and all that. And it'll be basically like our raid day streamed with comms in all my guilds, and I'll talk to chat about different things. They have questions and all that. I'll explain fights or help them, or just have back and forth shooting the shit. And afterwards, I usually just kind of, after the raid's done, I usually either take care of some of the character chores that you have, whether it's like item sets or, I got a new thing on my paladin. How am I fitting this into the puzzle of my gear? Doing ZAs for people, doing Karas, anything that I have to do with friends and buddies. Or sometimes I do pugs and put together pug raids, which seem to be really popular. People like watching people like watching train wrecks, I guess is how I'll put it. They like watching bad things happen. They like watching wipes. They like figuring out how you're going to get through everything. I had so many streams where I'm doing like a pug and it's awful and I'm there for hours and somebody comes into the chat and they go, wow, I went to sleep and came back and you're still streaming. Like,
happy to help.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. So yeah, that's basically how my streams go. I used to live in a streamer house and do just chatting in IRL back in the day, in like 2018, which is where like most of my Twitch following is back when I did those types of things. So I might go back to that someday in terms of just chatting. People really like to just have somebody to talk to, even if it's not about WoW, but just like, normally have somebody online they relate to. So I don't know if I'll ever go back to that. Do you ever worry about
pigeonholing yourself into WoW?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. I know WoW is like stream career suicide for the most part. Right. Like I'd be much better off streaming just chatting or League of Legends. Right. I'd be much better off doing that if I wanted to like push this further as a career. So I know that's how it is. I know that's not where the money is. And I also know like subscriber habits are different too. Like if you're like a just chatting streamer, you typically have like a more you have a fuller connection with your audience or individuals. So they're more likely to sub, gift subs, or stay subbed. And people who have like the same size audience as me will have like 2 times the subs that I do if they're doing just chatting mostly, because that's where people actually interact with you. Yep. In something like League of Legends, people will gift subs if they like think the player's good or they like you, gameplay, etc. in between games. But WoW, it's like the WoW audience doesn't really sub at all, right? Yeah. Very, very rarely will they do something like that. And they really have to like the streamer most of the time to do that. it's just interesting how the subscriber habits happen. But WoW is to some degree really bad to stream if I'm trying hard. If you're trying hard, you're responsible for like 24 other people and them. And I've had streamers in my raid before. I've had Peo in my raid before. And that guy, when he is dancing on stream, like I remember we pulled Broodlord one time and people were like, where are these whelps coming from? And I'm like, oh, it's Peo. So I actually like alt tab, go to his stream, and he's just like, he's not even playing the game. His hands aren't even on the keyboard. He's dancing in the corner. And he's dancing on stream. And his character's just sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh God,
dude,
I know people are gonna get mad at me."
I like deal with something like smaller than that, but like I stream our raids, and like my people, there's certain people in my raids that watch me like a hawk, and they're like, "Bob's AFK."
Yep.
Bob's AFK.
Well, that's because Bob has a tendency to
Bob,
go
stop talking to your chat and do damage. Like,
yeah, right.
So I actually do have now like when I'm raiding, I have a little like thing above the chat that's on screen that says, "I'm concentrating on raid. I'll try to answer you if I can." Type of deal.
Yeah,
because I don't want to upset my raid.
Interaction. Yeah. It's interesting because like a lot of people. Who was it? Somebody was talking to me about how they got more. We have a lot of PvPers in Rain, and somebody was telling me that they had like double their normal viewers when they stream speed runs. Like they have like really low views when they're streaming regular raids. Then when they have speed runs, it's like double their normal. And they're an arena streamer, and they were like, I wonder why people don't like watching my arena play as much as speedrun play. It's because the speedruns had like stakes to them. People want to see when it goes off the rails or how well you do or who messes up, etc. That was the fun thing about having world buffs. And he's like, I guess to some degree as well, watching an arena player who's like really good is like, you could just watch a YouTube highlight video of an arena player doing well. And get like probably more value or entertainment out of that.
I feel like the arena streamers that like do really well are the ones that constantly answer questions because there's very little YouTube content out there that actually can improve you. Like Snow is one of the few people that I know that puts out stuff that can actually improve you on YouTube. So like everybody comes to like the streams and be like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? You know?
Well, and I think you have to be like, if you're just casting arena, that's fine. But if you're casting arena and being like, here's what went wrong, here's what we could have done better, here's the comp. But again, you have to have people that are playing that specific comp to want to join into that Twitch VOD, right? Like, and YouTube just allows you to say like, hey, I want to know Priest, Warlock, TBC Arena, right?
Very
and
specific.
Then you all these options of Priest, Warlock, TBC Arena. Here's what you should do, right? Some of them are great, some of them are awful. But Twitch, you kind of have to go with the flow. And if you're playing to twos and you're a Priest, Warlock, you're only getting Priest, Warlock people watching you. Or other people that are kind of like, oh, it's kind of cool, right?
Well,
but
if you really want to be good, you're jumping to a bunch of different ones. You're wanting to know, at this point, you're wanting to know the weaknesses of Priest, Warlock. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And I'm not saying there's
if you really
nobody
want to be
else
good, but
it.
there's not a big crowd that really wants to like really push in PvP. It's definitely
I'm saying
a smaller
the limited
crowd.
PvP population is, probably not watching every single Twitch stream from people doing PvP. But I think there's another level of this where I think that you may not be doing the most profitable thing, but you're doing the thing that you believe in. And when you hate what you do, you don't want to do it anymore, right? So if you're doing just what was most profitable, I don't think you'd want to do it anymore. As opposed to like you enjoy playing WoW and you enjoy doing that. And you could do all this YouTube and Reddit and all this stuff and probably make a better profit, but would you then resent your game and would you provide worse
information? It becomes a job at some point.
Yep, exactly.
Having worked at a video game company, I can tell you firsthand, I played way less League when I worked as a commentator.
Yeah.
Played more when I wasn't working. So yeah, it eventually becomes a job and you got to find something else, because I would do my job, play League, go home, play League. And it was like free work all the time.
God.
So yeah, it was, it becomes a job and you got to find something else with your free time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
sure.
like your streams are pretty much educational. It's like
as much as possible.
Of it is, and you enjoy that. You talked about earlier in the cast. You love to teach, and so you've kind of found a really good spot at the moment. Because you get to teach people on stream. They get to ask you specific questions rather than you lining out a curriculum during a YouTube video. Like, it seems like you enjoy interaction and you enjoy
absolutely
the back and forth.
Absolutely love that. It's like part of just my being is I love helping people. And I love helping them with specific problems that they have. So that's why I studied psychology. It's why I did my YouTube. I just like watching people do better or feel better, or get better.
So would you say you're enjoying streaming right now?
Yes, I absolutely enjoy streaming. I love it. It's why I do it every day.
Awesome. Well, like every time I've tuned into your stream, it's always been Classic WoW. But do you ever stream any other games recently?
Not right now. Well, Classic WoW is pretty much all I play. I'll play like a chill game every now and then for myself. I think I played like Elden Ring a bit. My girlfriend plays Animal Crossing, so maybe I'll play that with her sometimes. It's like things like that I don't really stream or anything like that. So
you need to get her into WoW.
Yeah, she is into WoW. She's very into WoW. She plays Animal Crossing to get away from WoW.
Oh, so is she in your guild? Any of your guilds?
Yeah, she's in one of my raids. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Bob doesn't often find other men that have a girl that plays with them.
Yeah, it's because it's living the dream. Like it's rare.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So I'm trying to find ways that I can play more of my characters, with her and raid at the same time, because then our schedules line up, or our activities that we're doing lines up. So can't tell you how bad it is.
Mel, you don't know how many men are jealous of this and just would love to have their significant other even come close to just playing, like not even ratings above and beyond.
Yeah,
just getting them to play.
Mm-hmm. Playing, being like decent or good at the game, and then raiding with them makes it so much better. After raid, you can go eat or something. It's just
that's what we do.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Then we talk about the raid or like things that like we could have done better. Like,
go through the logs together.
No, we don't go that far. No.
Oh, I do.
I won't let Bob go that far with me. I'm like, listen, I did fine. Okay, leave me alone. We were fine. But no, I think it's definitely when I go out of town, I'm like, oh, you have to raid. Yeah, okay. And it's like really sad, right? And then when he tells me he's gonna do an alt raid, and I'm like, I don't want to do the alt raid. And then I hear him in the alt raid and I'm like, damn it. It sounds kind of fun.
Sounds kind of chill, yeah.
And then anytime I'll say anything, she's like, Are you talking about me?
I'll hear him be like, well, Mel did this. And I'm like, excuse me? No. Don't go there. You're not allowed to say my name when I'm not there.
All right. Well, we're running a bit long here, but just to end it out,
talking.
Wrath Classic, what are you excited for in Wrath?
I'm excited for kind of the beginning and the exploration of figuring out what on private servers was really strong and now something else is stronger, right? Kind of like the whole warrior thing going into TBC. Like right now, I know that a lot of people are talking about what scales or what's going to be good. I get a lot of questions of like, how good is Rogue going to be? What classes are good, right? Yeah, Rogue is going to be very good, for sure. And
everybody's talking about
how I feel about it.
Assassination. And I think this is my prediction. In the end, combat wins, across the board. And then everybody's talking about Affy locks. And I don't think they're going to be as good as everybody's saying that they're going to be. I think there's a lot of scripting stuff and a lot of a lot of things that proc on private servers that didn't back in the day. But at the same time, I quit the same time as you, TOC. And if you look at the list of changes of classes, you know, after we left in TOC, there was a ton. So I mean, there's it's a very exciting thing going forward. Just see what happens.
Yeah, Warlock is one of the classes that I usually don't feel like I know enough about to make like really educated guesses on how they're going to be. I think like the whole thing with dots and snapshotting it is like one of the big things where you get tricks of the trade from a rogue and then you snapshot it.
We're going to have to see how that actually works out, if it does actually snap, you know?
Yeah, that's something that I'm worried about, because like even the rogue 2 set with slice and dice at 5% extra haste, you might get your slice and dice up on a mob before the boss and then swap off your 2-piece T6
you were talking
and then
about
use
that
their
on
assassination
Prepared.
to refresh. Yep. It's just, yeah, I'm scared for a lot of the snapshotting stuff. I'm really scared about that. But yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I still like, I'm just glad to go back to my rogue.
Yeah, your rogue. It's not in the dumpster anymore.
I'm going back home. I'm feeling good about it. So yeah. What are your fears about Wrath?
Oh boy. I think I hope they do the first phase well. I don't know how much people are going to enjoy Nax if they played Classic originally, like how much it's going to feel like a chore doing all of Nax over again, because people are doing Nax right now for Corrupted Ashbringer even on live. So it's going to be feeling like you've done multiple years of Nax. It'll have some changes and stuff, but multiple years of it.
There's quite a few changes. It was actually hilarious when we were progressing in vanilla. Everybody kept remembering how it was in Wrath Nax. And there's so many different things, like, you know, 4 horse. I mean, you don't even tank the back bosses. You have casters tank them, you know, like. And
when you pull them, they go to their position.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yep. And like you like in 10 man, 2 tanks just swap the 2 in front, and you don't even tank the back ones. And then in 25 man, I believe a caster tanks each of the back ones. So like it's so different.
Yeah, there's things you click for Vesuvius mind control instead of having a priest do it. That was
a really?
Yep.
Yeah, there was like little pylons you click.
Yeah, the little pylons. That was in 10 man. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think it was in 25 man.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm not sure.
But I'm interested to see people break stuff again too. Like, are they gonna get the Thaddeus buff again and go into Saffron? Like those types of things, I'm kind of interested to see. Like, and it might be something that everybody can do now, whereas like everybody didn't get to do that at the end of vanilla. So it might be. I mean, there might be some kind of fun things to it.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. Yeah, but that's what I'm scared of, is like doing Nax again and feeling like how is it? Maybe it'll be interesting because it's 10 and 25 man instead of 40. But I didn't really enjoy it too much back then. And then I'm scared for Trial of the Crusader.
Trial of the Crusader. Oh, here, everybody I've talked to doesn't agree with me. I really like their thoughts on like just locking you to 110.
Yes, I like that. And 10 and 25 man, single one.
Okay, finally somebody agrees.
I don't want to do 4.
Me.
I don't want to do 4.
Yes, thank you.
No,
okay.
Who wants to do
where
4?
They introduced. Yeah, that's where they introduced heroic mode of things, and then because like Ulduar was like activate hard mode, right? Yep. It wasn't really like heroic and all that stuff. So you could like opt into it, and I think that's a good change. I personally like that a lot. I know it might be hard for a few people because they'll be like, you have to choose if you're doing normal or heroic. Eventually, everybody hopefully does heroic, you know, but working your way up there will be a little bit difficult. Or
but I just feel like the pressure for people to be able to do 4 instead
4
of
is
2,
hard.
like that's a lot.
It's just a lot. I do like an idea of saying that you could start heroic on like 10 or 25, and if you get stuck, you can go ahead and be like, okay, we're going to change this to normal and do the rest of the bosses normal and still get our gear to, you know, go on to next week. That I would definitely like, because it'll definitely be a scary thing for guilds to be like, do we do heroic this week, or when they could be like, okay, we're gonna do boss 1 and 2 heroic this week, and then we'll switch it to normal and do the last few on regular. Like, I think that
they'd have to stop you from switching back and forth though, or else you'd just switch to normal for things you didn't need loot off of, or for trash you'd switch
and
normal, and then swap to heroic. Like,
it's not a bad idea that like you only once you swapped it to normal, you can't swap back.
You can't. Like, I was just like looking for something that wouldn't completely screw guilds, because there'll be a ton of guildies mad if guild leadership decides to do heroic this week. That guildie doesn't feel like they're ready. Then they're not ready. They don't get it down, and then they're stuck to that lockout. You know?
Yeah, I think the more likely one is the opposite, where it's somebody feels like they have trash guildies and they want to do heroic, and these guys suck ass and they can't do heroic, right? And like they're like, half this 10-man raid can't do heroic, and we go into it, and now we're like wiping or something, and they can't do normal now.
Now we're locked. Yeah.
It's like now we're locked, and because these guys are bad, and now I don't get any loot this week. And like,
yeah, for sure.
Could be a good idea. But to like once again go back to the any fears question. My biggest fear, like absolute biggest fear here, is just how parsing is going to work, because there's so many abilities that are used on singular people, like Hysteria from Blood Knights or Tricks of the Trade from Rogues. I really hope that Kira from Warcraft Logs, who also runs Final Fantasy Logs, does the Final Fantasy approach to it. Because I don't know if you guys have ever looked at Final Fantasy 14 logs. So the way Final Fantasy 14 logs work are they have raw DPS, R DPS, and then they have, I think it's E DPS, and that is effective DPS. And so what they do in Final Fantasy is they take the damage that you gave or got from other people and then returns it to them. So if you find like a dancer that's paired with a samurai, the dancer's a raw DPS will be very low, but their effective DPS will be high. And then the Death Knight's damage, or the samurai's damage who was paired with them, will have a higher raw DPS, but then it takes away from their effective DPS because they had all the dancer's DPS added to it. So if I gave you Tricks of the Trade, 15% of the damage I gave you during that time would come back to me on my log.
Oh, interesting.
Instead of 5 rogues, Tricks of the Trading, one guy over and over again, so he gets the 99, because that's what parsing's going to become eventually.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that. Okay, and so you're actually giving it to the person that gave the buff.
Exactly.
And enticing them to give the buff more and more.
Yeah, exactly. There is a way to do it in logs, right? To some degree, it might take some fine tuning or whatever.
I like the fact that they've done it. That you see that they've done it before, and that'd be huge.
Logs.
Yeah,
it just promotes more cooperation, right? More collaboration, more like teamwork, as opposed to, well, this is beneficial to me, maybe not everybody else.
Yeah,
still,
exactly.
Though, I mean, it's still not as egregious as TBC though, with like swapping shimmies though. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a smaller thing than that, at least.
Yeah.
And they did find a thing for that. You know, there's the, how many bloodlusts you got thing in logs, that kind of like, if you're really looking for something, you're going down to the, you're going down to the top parse that got 1, and you're like, now that's the guy I want to, follow. Right. So, yeah, but the way you're talking about it, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like really what's the word? It's like it seems very helpful. Like I really like how it works.
Well, and then so for instance, if I was a rogue, it
would encourage me to be, be more helpful to the to everybody.
It would encourage me to give it to the person
who's going to use it the best.
That's going to use it the best, that deserves it the most, rather than my buddy. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because then that's going to be on my damage meter, and he's, at that point, like working for. Oh, I love that idea. That's crazy. I don't know how you would do it, but the people at Warcraft Logs are pretty smart. So
yeah,
there we go.
You got me on board. All right, so
Kira's mainly a Final Fantasy person, though. So, like, the person who runs Warcraft Logs is a Final Fantasy player. So, if you've ever wondered,
really,
yeah, they don't play Warcraft.
Oh,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
tell him to make us more like Final Fantasy. It'll be great.
I think they would wish WoW was more like Final Fantasy as well. So,
fair.
All right. Well, the very last question is, you talked about wanting to raid less. What are your plans for mains and guilds and everything through Wrath?
For Wrath, I want to keep like one of my Blood Elf Paladins. I want to keep maybe both of my Alliance Paladins. I want to play my Rogue, and I might roll a Frost DK because I really want to play a Frost DK because I think a lot of people are really on the Unholy train, and I think Frost DK in the first phase is going to be a top 3 DPSer, the DPS spec of Frost.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I think Obliterate is like one of my favorite abilities in terms of just satisfaction. It's kind of like how I'm a big Eviscerate whore. I love eviscerating all the time. Like people are like, oh, what isn't Rupture better? And I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't give me the big number when I crit. So kind of like that a little bit more. So yeah, I love eviscerating, and it just has like a high satisfaction level for me. And that's why like Frost DK, getting a killing machine into Howling Blast, which makes it crit everything in the AoE. A lot of numbers, all big numbers. I like that. I like
Pop
that
it
a
up
lot.
on your screen. You're like, yes.
Everything crit. It's amazing. So, yeah, I'm looking for a guild that will let me play Frost DK for them, because there's a lot of guilds where everybody's saying they're going to roll DK, and I don't even know how many people are actually going to get their DK up or anything like that when they swap. So time will tell.
Yeah.
But I basically want to play at least 2 of my Paladins and my Rogue, and then I want to add a DK to that. So that's my feeling for that.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been a banger of an episode, but all good things. A good one. Yeah, all good things must come to an end.
Wait, I do want to know if he has a specific add-on that he would love to share with us.
Oh, you want to do add-on of the week?
I just want to know if he does. We don't have to do it.
Not really. It would just be
nothing like crazy.
It would just be weak auras, dude.
Yeah.
Weak auras are so good. They're so good. There's so many different weak auras now.
Are taking over the add-ons.
Oh yeah, they basically are their own thing because you can get it in game.
Yeah.
Like, people are sharing weak auras now where if you say bruh, everyone who has the weak aura says bruh immediately afterwards. So one person I read types bruh and there's like bruh like, with chat bubbles on.
Oh, this is great.
Just useless ones like that are popping up. So I love weak auras. They do so much, and they allow the user to feel like they have some customization or agency over their UI.
For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. All right, well, I want to end the show out by saying don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can also follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. We still continue to want your WoW stories and anything you want to send to us. Send those emails to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our Discord and interact with the hosts on this show or any Mash show, mash.gg/discord is where you can go. How can you help the podcast? The best way to help the podcast is for ratings and reviews on iTunes, ratings on Spotify. You can leave a rating at warcraftradio.com/directory. We are actually growing now. For some reason, the last two months, we've been growing on YouTube for our episodes. Leaving comments there would help tons. Comments, likes, hit the bell. That actually helps us. We're actually getting 1,200 views on YouTube. So YouTube's growing. So help us there.
Shows you if Bob clips something relevant. Post in your guild chat and say, hey, look at this.
Yes.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, yeah. Tell your guild about the show. All of these things help us grow. And so
2-minute clips are easier to get buy-in than 3 hour episodes.
Yeah. And definitely try to follow the Clips channel. If you just search Warcraft Reloaded Clips, you're going to find it. We're still too small for custom URL, but help us out there. And that's gonna be it. Mel, where can we find you?
Realistically, you can find me on Benediction. MML Arena. That's really it. You can find me on Twitter, but I probably won't answer you.
Okay.
I'm just never on there. It's nothing personal. I'm just never there.
Well, and Zirene, where else can we find you?
You can find me at twitch.tv/Zirene, Zirene. And you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Zirene, Zirene. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I don't really do too much more. We talked about how being famous sucks ass. So well, try to keep a low profile for the most part.
But you could also find him on the YouTube channel Roguecraft. You could find him on Snowbe's podcast Prepared. And so if you like this type of long form talking, Zirene oftentimes breaks down speed runs during episodes. There's a whole bunch of really cool
for sure,
like high-end knowledge in the Prepared podcast. So I definitely recommend checking out Prepared podcast from them.
Yeah, you can watch ours as to like, hey, this is how a guild kind of struggles through it. And then you can watch theirs to be like, hey, this is how a real guild just kind of sweeps through it.
But yeah, that's on audio too, but I would definitely recommend the YouTube version because they do use a lot of visual aids on that show. So it's very important, I think, to watch it on YouTube. So definitely check that out. That's on Snowbe's Roguecraft channel. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me streaming our raids and streaming random other stuff and this show on twitch.tv/BlazinBob. All right, guys, let's get out of here.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.